Good afternoon, everybody. Today is December 4th. It's been approximately about 2.5 weeks since the last video. The last videos that I shared, those were uploaded on November 16th and 17th. So it's been a couple weeks since my last posting. And again, if you're new to this channel, you're way behind. So if you're new to this channel, you really need to backtrack to the game episode 1. You know, it's the game part 1 of 4. You know, if you're going to start anywhere, start there, and don't even bother with this video until you're caught up, because nothing I'm going to say is going to make sense. Okay, but this video is for anybody who is caught up and you have patiently been waiting for me to share my next video. Well, it's been 2.5 weeks, and I've just been, the last videos that I shared, I put a lot in motion, caused a lot of waves, as far as this good versus evil that's out there, the bad guys versus good guys, everything that I'm sharing, there's cause and effect. There are consequences, both good and bad, that are taking place as I share this stuff. It's causing a ripple effect or a butterfly effect, if you're familiar with those terms, as an analogy, right? Okay. So, since I've shared those past videos, and then all the videos before those, as of recently, so when I share something, I like to step back and just observe and watch how my environment changes in one way or another. If that makes sense? Okay. So this video is essentially an update to just let you guys know new things that have transpired, because things have happened in the past couple weeks, things that are worth talking about. And so I'm just here to get you guys up to speed, and then once I'm going to try and be as brief as possible as far as things that have been happening around me for the past couple weeks. And my intention is to actually spend, I can't really say how long it's going to take. It might take an hour and a half or 2 hours, and that video is going to be separate from the one you're currently watching. But this next video is going to be something that by the time you start it and finish it, I hope that it will really help you grasp and understand who you are in the context of what this world is and how to navigate this life with the information I provide you. The things I'm prepared to share with you might blow your mind. And you might be aware of some of the stuff I talk about. The more you know, the better. But the less you know, if you end up watching this video, I might just blow your mind. And then by the time the video's over, you might have a pretty good grasp of what this life is and what it isn't. Or at least I'll give you enough puzzle pieces or enough clues to get you started. I might spike your curiosity to where, by the time you're done watching my video or videos, there's just something in your brain that is telling you to pursue this path that you don't even know what it is, but you're gonna, you start becoming motivated to start researching things, and your perspective on the world might change in different ways. I don't know. My intention is to have it all help you for the better. My intention is not to manipulate you or mislead you or to give you any type of misinformation. I'm trying to provide you with knowledge and information and perspective and wisdom, or whatever you want to call it, what I have attained over the years, and just how I currently perceive the world and how I'm currently navigating my way through all of this bad stuff. Okay, so by talking about all of this, my intention is to, I've said it before, I'm trying to break your mind free from all of this engineered programming. Your mind has been programmed with lies, deception, manipulation. You've had people that have intentionally been putting bad thoughts in your brain, whether you want to call it spiritual attacks, spiritual warfare, or psychological attacks. You've been getting lied to in a way that is manipulating and warping your perspective of reality in order to suit these people's needs and their own personal agendas. They have their idea about how the world should be, and a lot of these people are psychopaths, sociopaths, narcissists, and they don't actually care about anybody. They just have their perspective on how they perceive the world should operate. They want to be the ones in control of it, and in order to make any of this possible, they got to trick, lie, manipulate, steal, gaslight, murder people, do all types of bad stuff in order to essentially psychologically, spiritually, and physically enslave everybody that they possibly can, and then put them in all these various positions to build this machine, which, once you have all these positions filled, and then you got this machine that just starts running, well, they start building a fake reality. I hope that all makes sense. I'm speaking it's kind of like an analogy, and it's just a matter if you have an imagination and you can picture this stuff as I'm saying it, okay? So that's what this next video is going to be about. But right now, I'm essentially just going to be trying to briefly update you about what's happened the past few weeks, and then I'll wrap that up and then we'll move on, okay? So with all that said, so like I said, today's Wednesday, December 4th. It's been a little over 2.5 weeks since the last one, okay? In that time span, so as of today, it's been 173 days since my own father and maybe my mom, but I don't know, I talked about this in nauseum, in multitude, as far as why I'm in my van right now. I'm not going to go into it, but it's been 173 days since my dog got drugged and snatched out of the house. I was living with my mom and dad. He got snatched out of the house by somebody. Somebody drugged him in order to make that possible. Caught my father. I've already gone into all this. I'm just saying it's been 173 days since then, and I have patiently been waiting for 173 days for law enforcement, military, whoever, whatever agency, department you belong to, waiting for something to happen to deal with this situation, because, again, I cannot go home because as far as I'm concerned, I cannot even trust my own parents to eat dinner with them, not knowing if they're going to slip some type of sedative or poison or something that will render me unconscious the moment I eat it. If I go home and say I forgive them and try say that I just want to, say we want to all be a big happy family again, we just got to work out all this stuff. Well, too much stuff has already happened where they will literally lie to my face and say they forgive me and bring me in. And the moment I put my guard down, all it's going to take is for them to slip some type of sedative or drug that, renders me unconscious. And then by the time I wake up, somebody has me in their custody, and I'm either zip tied to a chair or a bed, or I'm locked up in some padded room or some scary room or something. So that's what I'm saying. I'm in a position right now that I don't even know what the hell's going on. I'm just trying to survive and keep my dog alive. He's doing great right now. But right now, it's been 173 days where I've just been trying to, not cause problems. Other than speaking on the camera, I've been trying, follow all the laws and rules and be respectful of wherever I'm at, whatever state, county, city I'm in. I'm being respectful of the area around me. I'm not stealing anything. I'm not breaking stuff. I'm not vandalizing. I'm not littering. I'm not doing any of this stuff. I'm just being as respectful as I can. I'm not creating issues with people. I'm being as respectful as I can to anybody I cross paths with. Say hello, how are you, how's your day going? Get in little small talk with them. Okay, have a nice day, have a wonderful afternoon. And then if we cross paths again, okay, whatever. But if I don't see them again, okay. I don't know anything about them, so I'm not walking around in a state of paranoia. I'm just trying to exist in a relatively healthy, functioning way where I have my own routines, but at the same time, I have no idea who I can trust, and I'm patiently waiting for law enforcement, military, whoever is involved in all this, for them to make their decision and either go after these bad guys, or for whatever reason, they come after me and either try to set me up with something, or they just outright assassinate me. I don't know, but I'm just saying right now I have no answers of what's going on, and I'm just doing my best to communicate so you guys, whoever ends up watching this, so you guys can know where my mind is and where I'm coming from and what my perspective is and why I'm doing what I'm doing, you know, as far as this lifestyle and why I'm still in the van. Like, just trying to get you guys up to speed, because I also understand there are a lot of bad people out there who are spinning all kinds of lies, false narratives, just trying to deceive and manipulate everybody else to keep everybody else have their minds in all of your minds to perceive me as somebody who's crazy or a bad person or dangerous or scary or whatever. They're trying to keep you guys away from me in the context where I have no friends or nobody to talk to. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to, and then by doing so, they're trying to make me feel isolated, to make me feel like that nobody likes me and nobody cares about me and everybody just wants me to go off into the desert and die. That's what they want me to perceive, you know. And so it's all mind games. Not only me, but everybody else who knows about me, and you have people telling you things about me. And then once you actually watch my videos or follow, if you know where I'm at and you've been following me around and just observing me, you whatever you've been told is conflicting to what you are seeing and observing with your own eyes. Where at some point you're starting to see there's a whole bunch of liars out there, snakes, people that are just outright being deceiving and spitting venom in your head and twisting your mind and your thoughts. Okay, so I'm doing everything in my power, man, to not only survive and keep my doggy alive and healthy and happy, giving him as much exercise as he needs. I'm also doing everything in my power to I'm not trying to create issues anywhere I go, but to take the time to speak on the camera when the energy hits me and tells me it's time to speak on the camera. And when I do start speaking, I'm speaking in a way that you can literally not only read my energy, you can also understand and comprehend what I'm talking about, to where by the time the video ends, you see the world in a different way than you did before you watched the video. In a good way, in a positive way. You know, you might see some scary, dark, bad, evil stuff, but at least now you're aware of it, and now you know how to take steps to get away from it, right? So yeah, I'm here to show you the evil, bad stuff, as much as I'm also here to try and show you the good stuff, what we're fighting for, what I'm fighting for, and also a lot of other people out there what they're fighting for. It's a big team effort, right? So that's my goal. Okay, so with that said, I'm gonna just be going over. I've went and bought one of these little composition books, and I've been trying to do my best at whenever some type of weird or odd thing happens around me, I've been trying to document it in different ways, writing it down, sometimes recording with my phone. That way, all of this, as time goes forward, where you're having one weird thing or two weird things happen one day, and another weird thing happen the next day, or another weird thing happening 2 days after, if you're documenting all of it, it all starts adding up. And then at some point, you're like, is all this connected? And then at some point, if it is connected, you'll be able to see patterns, and then you can see what you're dealing with, more or less. You might not be able to see everything, but you're at least going to start catching on. You're getting warmer. You used to be cold, but now you're getting warmer. You're getting warmer. Hot, 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 right? So it's like, it's about first you got to become aware of this stuff, and then you got to start paying attention. You got to start applying, thinking critically, trusting your intuition and your gut feeling. Sometimes you're just going to have energy or information just magically appear in your brain telling you to turn left when you were originally going to go right. Or, all of a sudden you were thinking this and you were going to do this. The next thing you know, you're like, nope, I'm not going to do that. I was going to, but for whatever reason, something just tell me this doesn't feel right. And the next thing you know, you're just turning around and walking away. And when you start dialing into this, and then you start tapping, we have entities and spirits around us, and if you start, remember, you got Heavenly Father and God, and you got devil and his minions. So if you start stepping on God's side and start building that relationship with Heavenly Father, Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit, the angels, your guardian angels, all that stuff, and you start listening to whatever your intuition or whatever just energy hits you and tells you to go left rather than right, you start listening and heeding that. You might not know why you're turning left. You might have no idea why you're turning left when you were originally going to go right. But if you believe in the angels and watchers and your guardians, they might have known there's something up there that, somebody waiting for you, somebody cross paths with you who's going to put some dark energy on you and mess up your day, ruin your day in some way, or somebody that might jump you or whatever, or somebody that's trying to set you up to get in an accident or whatever. But for some reason, because you listened, you entirely avoided that. And there's no way that you'll ever know. You'll never know what was waiting for you. But if you do go this way, well, you might have energy that hits you, and all of a sudden you have this thought come into your brain about something that might have been over there. You'll have no way of proving it. But if you're listening, this energy might tell you what you just avoided or what was waiting for you. Just a matter if you're tuned in or not, right? And then at the same time, you tell people this. The bad guys out there, you try explaining this to any random person. People who are not tuned into this, and also the bad guys out there who are aware of this, and you're perceiving that you're talking to a friend who's not really your friend, and you tell them this, the thing that they will do is turn around and tell you that you're crazy, or you're delusional, or you might be suffering from schizophrenia. They'll tell you to stop talking about this stuff, or stop thinking about it, or whatever, and you gotta understand they are consciously, purposefully telling you this stuff to try and get you to doubt yourself, so therefore you don't tune in even further, so therefore you, rather than listening to what your guardian angels and Heavenly Father and the high energies are trying to do to help you, you're listening to somebody who's a snake, or someone who likes demons or is a devil worshiper, and they're getting you to abandon the faith. And next thing you know, you're getting in an accident, or you're having misfortune because you listen to them. Okay? Or you believe, all of a sudden you're doubting your own mind and believe, oh, I just heard these thoughts that might not have been mine. Maybe I am a schizo. And then so anytime you have energy hitting your mind, and there you have these it's like a voice or energy that you can recognize it's not your own. And then all of a sudden you're thinking you're going crazy, but no, and your eyes can only see a limited spectrum across the whole energy field. You can only see like a fragment of what's all out there. Your eyes can only see so much. And so if there are entities that your eyes cannot see and they're trying to communicate with you, and you are associating that telepathy, that communication as something, oh, I'm a crazy person, like you're missing the point. You're just going to be, at some point you're just going to be getting taunted by demons and stuff that are outside of you, and they're putting thoughts into your brain, just yipping in your brain, and it's all of a sudden you just feel like you're just getting attacked, and you can't make those thoughts shut up, and you think you're going crazy. You're not going crazy. You're being spiritually attacked. This is a spiritual warfare, spiritual battle, and if you have no faith or anything, you have no relationship connection with the high realms, well, you are very susceptible to this stuff, and they will literally they'll break your mind if you don't catch on to it quick enough, and you just go down into the pit because you never had the ability to defend yourself, and you never built any type of connection with the divine source or any of that. You shut all that off, therefore you're an easy target, therefore they're going to take everything from you, and once they take everything from you, they'll cut you high and dry, and then you just feel like an empty vessel. You feel like a shell. And that's really hard to rebound from. Okay, so I'm kind of getting sidetracked. This is stuff well, just look at everything I just said. This is what I'm really going to be getting into in the next video. But again, I need to go through a bunch of stuff. So I got 57 seconds on the clock. I'm gonna pause it and reset real quick. Alrighty, so like I said, it's been 173 days since the shit happened with my dog, which is the very reason why I got my van and left Oregon. 173 days since then, been waiting patiently for something to happen one way or the other, okay? It's been 159 days since I've been in the van. It took me about 2 weeks. It was 9 days. From June 14th, it was about 9 days when I got the van, and then I left in the van 2 weeks from, June 14th happened with my dog, and then within 2 weeks I was gone. I was in my van full time with my dog, away from my family. Just cut my family off, got away from them for my own safety and my dog's safety. So it's been 159 days. I've been in the van for 5 months, 5 full months, every single night, sleeping in this tiny van. And if you think about, I got, there's 3 chairs, I got stuff laying around, and so the total space that I have to move around is probably less than 60 square feet. So if you think about if you live in an apartment, or you live in a house, or you live in a motorhome or a double wide or something, think about your total square footage available to you. Well, I've been living in an area about 60 square feet for 5 months straight. Okay, so it has not been easy. It's been a real test and challenge for me, but I'm still going. I still got my shit together. I still got my mind together. I'm still focused. I have not had any emotional breakdowns or psychological breakdowns. I've been maintaining my path. So the bad guys out there that have been counting on me to have these things happen and they haven't yet, well, they're probably frustrated because they're sorry. My mind is pretty. It's like Fort Knox, man. So, out of 159 days of being in my van, I've covered 7,000 miles. I established in my last video that I'm in the Sedona, Arizona area. I'm not always in Sedona. I'm just the general area. I'm just moving around every day. Every day I'm somewhere different. And so by staying in the area, I've really cut down on the total miles that I'm driving. So I'm just trying to keep it local for the winter time because, now that's just, I still got December, January, and February, which is, it gets pretty cold around the country during these months, and I'm trying to stay where it's relatively warm. And so I've chosen this area for the time being. And so so far the weather since I've been here has been phenomenal, man. It's been great. It's been in the 60s and low 70s during the daytime, and then like low 40s to high 30s at nighttime as of the past couple weeks, and it hasn't been too bad. I got enough blankets and everything to stay warm. And so over these 159 days that I've been on the road, I have had 0 traffic accidents. 0 traffic accidents with my van. My van has been running phenomenal the entire time. I've had no flat tires or anything. I've already made my prayers. I make my prayers before I start recording. So everything that I'm speaking, I prayed Heavenly Father to help me deliver this message as it needs to be delivered. So I've already done all of this. Just keep that in mind. I pray. I'm praying like every day, multiple times throughout the day, where I just have, anywhere from a 15-minute, half hour to hour and a half long dialogue where I'm just sitting in my van, just speaking either out loud or just having internal dialogue and inner monologue with my head, but it's as if I'm speaking to somebody. And so I'm doing this multiple times throughout the day, and I'm just letting you know, you as the viewer, I prayed before I started speaking, asking Heavenly Father and my guardian angels and whoever's in my company protecting me to help me deliver this message in the most effective way possible for you as the viewer. Whatever information you're bringing in, you're able to use it in a way that helps you and empowers you and breaks you free from the illusions and all that stuff. Okay, so I've made that prayer. So everything I share in this video and the next video, just understand the words coming out of my mouth. I'm speaking with pure intent and trying to do everything in my power to speak completely in truth. I'm speaking as honestly as I possibly can with everything. I have no intentions of misleading anybody. I have no intentions of putting out misinformation to twist your mind. I'm doing everything in my power to do the opposite of that, to tell you things that you may have never heard of before, in order to break the spells and hypnotism and brainwashing and indoctrination and all this negative stuff that has been plaguing your existence since you've been born. Since you came out of your mother's womb and you were born into this world, you've been getting lied to, deceived, brainwashed, programmed through TV and movies and music and everything that you have ingested. And everything you've seen and read, listened to, heard, all of it, everything you've learned, all the school and education, a lot of it is nonsense. I'm not saying all of it. A lot of it has been nonsense, and I'm doing everything in my power to help break down those those barriers that are preventing you from seeing through this veil. Only people that have invested the time to break free from the illusions have had access to see what's beyond the veil. I am somebody who has seen very deep beyond the veil, and there's a lot of stuff that I really want to talk about, but considering my circumstances with all these bad people who have not only tried murdering me, they've tried, they've incarcerated me, institutionalizing me, they've tried poisoning me, they've tried setting me up and entrapping me, they've tried murdering my dog, they've tried poisoning my dog, they've tried kidnapping my dog. So I've got a lot of bad shit following me, and there's a lot of stuff I do want to talk about, but until they are dealt with, there's certain things that I refuse to speak about on camera, okay? So anybody that knows certain things about me and you're wondering why I'm kind of skirting around certain things or I'm not even acknowledging certain things, well, it's because I'm literally waiting on these individuals to get dealt with, and then once they're dealt with, I will, these doors will open, and then all these topics that I do want to talk about, I will go very deep into them. So I'm not going to even mention what these topics are, but for those who do know, and you've been wondering, that I know it's because of these individuals. There's certain things I'm not willing to talk about because not only I'm not going to give them ammunition or anything to use against me, I'm also refraining from giving them ideas that they can steal from me and profit from in a monetary way. They just outright take it, and then I don't get any credit for it, and then they claim the ideas as their own, and then I continue living in my current position where I'm just, I'm essentially homeless, right? Got all these people with all this money and there's high, big, important positions in life, and they make all the calls and they have all the authority and all this stuff. Well, they just steal, take, and then I never hear a word from anybody. And the next thing I know, at some point, I discover some of my ideas being used out in the world or being spoken about as if where did it come from? Well, I just spoke about this stuff a couple weeks ago or a month ago. So I'm aware of all this stuff, okay? So anybody that's wondering about all that, well, that's your reason why, okay? So 0 traffic accidents, and I've had 0 citations from law enforcement. I've had interactions with law enforcement a few times, but overall, I've had no citations, no arrests. I've had no bad encounters with law enforcement. So over the past 5 months, 7,000 miles everywhere that I've been. If anybody who has told anybody rolling with this idea that, law enforcement's, they're all bad, or that they're not on my team, or they're all against me, well, that's not necessarily true, because if they were against me and they all hated me, they have had plenty of opportunities to do something to get me locked away. They haven't done it. Okay, so from my perspective, I understand there are bad apples out there across the entire board. Doesn't matter whether you're talking law enforcement, military, corporations, politics. Everywhere you go, there are bad apples everywhere. And so I operate from a perspective, you can't treat everybody as a bad apple when it's just a handful. You got to give, you can't be mean and angry with everybody when it's just a handful that are causing the problem. So when it comes to law enforcement and military and all that, I try to, at least at a minimum, from a neutral point of view, I try to be as respectful and friendly with law enforcement. At the same time, I have this feeling that many of them have been given orders or instructions to, some of them, who want to be my friends, any law enforcement that want to just approach me and just have a conversation and just be friendly and just bullshit, because I spent 3 years as a cadet / explorer with the Redmond Police Department. I've done a ton of ride-alongs. I thought I was going to be in law enforcement as a career for those first 3 years. That's where I was going to go as a career. My grandpa was chief of police. My uncle's retired state police. Okay, so I'm not scared of law enforcement. I respect law enforcement in many, many, many ways, and I'm very respectful of them for at least, whatever their position is or perspective on me is, whether they like me, whether they know nothing and they're just kind of in the middle, neutral, they just don't know what to think about me, but they're aware of me, or they're a bad apple and they're trying to bring me down. All the same, I just try to be respectful of them and let them do what they got to do. And I'm hoping in the near future these bad people out there, they get taken care of, and then that'll open this door where all the good law enforcement officers who do know me, who do want to be my friend, or who do want to approach me just to bullshit with me, and because they know who I am and they've heard my story, and maybe I've helped them in different ways, and they just want to talk, just to, maybe they got burdens or guilt or just stuff, a burden on their shoulder, and they just want to talk to me, and for whatever reason, I might be able to unburden them, I want to open those doors for them to help. It doesn't matter where they're at. It doesn't matter what state or agency or who they work for. If there's a law enforcement person and we cross paths and they want to chat with me just because they want to bullshit, I want those doors to be open. I want to maintain this friendly dialogue and this friendly relationship with everybody. But given the circumstances right now, I don't have any answers because I'm aware there are a lot of moving pieces right now, and there are a lot of bad guys out there, and some of them are very evil people, and that's not to be taken lightly. When we're talking about evil, we're talking about, people who are in the human trafficking, sex trafficking, child trafficking racket. These individuals who murder people, rape people, make people disappear. So these are really bad individuals, which is a big part as to why nobody has come forward yet, because anybody who comes forward because they want to be my friend, they are exposing themselves to the bad guys who are always watching me, looking for an opportunity to try either fucking with me or outright making an attempt on my dog's life or my life. So these are real deal things. And, considering law enforcement has not been messing with me, it makes me perceive that most of them are on my side. They might, whatever they're, whether they like me or they're just indifferent, but they're still fighting on my behalf to keep me safe. There's a lot of things that have been going on around me to kind of let me know they are on my side, because the fact that I'm still alive, walking, free, still breathing, none of this could be possible without a lot of people on my side. Because the last few weeks, there has been so many days when I've been out hiking and just all of a sudden gunshots start fucking ringing in the distance, just anywhere from 20, 30 gunshots all the way up to nonstop gunfire for half an hour or 45 minutes just in the distance. Just anything from automatic weapons, semi-automatic weapons, high caliber weapons, lower caliber weapons. You can tell there's multiple shooters involved, but there's no sirens or anything, but it's some shit in the distance. And so I'm just saying, everybody who has been involved with this, and you guys know what's going on, and you've been fighting on my behalf to keep me safe and keep each other safe, and you guys see the evil, mad fucking respect to you guys. And if I knew who you were, I would, I'd give you guys all a hug, a big hug and shake your hand. But yeah, so all of that said, I just keep going into these little side things. Right? So, like the last videos that I shared was on November 16th and 17th, which was Friday and Saturday. Okay. So, if you watch those videos, there were a few different times over the course of part 1, 2, 3, and 4, where I let you know about what my financial situation was, and let you guys know, I was pretty much at rock bottom as far as my financial status, where I only had a little bit of money left, and I was asking for help, right? I did get help. I got, in total, I received $1,000 from one person, somebody who I'd never even talked to before, as far as what I could remember. This person has been aware of me since before my arrest, so I don't know to what extent they've been keeping tabs on my progress, but they're aware of a lot of the shit that happened back then, and so all the way up here in November 2024, this person came out of nowhere. This person had watched those 4 videos and just randomly decided to pitch out $1,044. And so that, pretty much saved my life, because he was out of food. My gas tank was pretty much empty. I had a lot of food that, as far as the food I had in my van, I'd eaten through most everything. So I had to restock my groceries. So this individual gave me that money, and I ended up getting another $1,000 from my mom. Okay. The whole issue, the situation with my mom is I don't know what side of the fence she's on. I don't know if she is in a really bad situation right now, and she's aware of what I'm dealing with, but she just can't speak about it. But all the same, after I shared those last videos on the 16th and 17th, I text my mom and gave her a heads up about those videos, and just to let her know they were going up. I didn't want to blindside her and have those videos go up, because I did mention her a few different times, okay? Again, I don't know which side of the fence she's on, but I communicated with her that the day that those videos went up, and told her about just about some stuff going on in my life. Told her about the videos and told her to watch them. I don't know. I have no idea if she has actually watched all of them. She has not communicated with me one way or the other. Okay, so I'm just saying that. I have no idea if she's actually watched them. That's 9 hours of information. But I let her know. I was like, Mom, I haven't seen you for a long time. And considering I'm like 1,300 miles away, or anywhere from like 1,000 to 1,200 miles away or something from where they're at, I was like, I haven't seen you in these videos I recorded. This is your opportunity to just sit down in front of your computer and just pretend like you and I are just having a one-on-one conversation. But you can't necessarily speak back to me, but you can at least listen and hear about these things that have happened to me over the past month. So I opened that door and invited her, and asked her to watch those videos, and I haven't heard from her since then. But we've talked a little bit, but I haven't heard from her. I have no idea if she's watched those videos. Okay, I have heard from her. It's just, but when I let her know about the videos, I also let her know that this was, when I was texting her, this was before I had received the $1,000 from the other person. So when I was initially texting her, I only had like $150 left, and I was about to go, I had to get gas, had to get dog food, and I had to get groceries. So if I went and did all three of those things, I would be flat broke, right? So I was just communicating with my mom. I was letting my mom know. It's like, Mom, I'm going to be canceling my cell phone because I can't afford it, and I was just letting her know that Blocky can't afford food. And I was like, Mom, I don't know which side of the fence you're on, but if you're on my side, if you're on my side and you actually do love me and stuff, like, I'm just letting you know I'm like on the edge of just being flat broke, and I'm down to like 120 pounds. And I was like, if you care, like, well, you guys, you can send me some money to at least get me through the next month, and then maybe within the next month things might work out for the better. Or, I might have a breakthrough in a different way. Something might happen in a positive direction for me. So she got all that information, and that was on Friday, Saturday, that I was communicating with her. And then she ended up sending me, so then Monday comes around, right? Monday comes around. I have not yet received money from my mom, and I don't know if she's watched the videos, and so I just have no idea if she's even going to send money my way. So I have no idea what to expect from that. And this other person who ended up sending me money, I had no idea this was coming my way. This hasn't yet happened. So I was still in a state of being broke, not knowing if I was going to get anything. So that morning, it was like, Monday the 18th. At some point in the morning, I started like praying and talking out loud, just saying, like, talking about, okay, the good guys out there, you guys are listening. I understand you guys are in a tight position, and I was like, I'm on the edge of like starving, and I don't want to die. My intentions are not to die. I'm trying to survive. I'm willing to endure being in the van. And I was saying, like, good guys out there, whoever's listening, I need you guys to at least $1,000. Send me $1,000 to get me through the next 4 to 6 weeks or so. And then that will buy you, not only will it buy you guys time, it'll buy me time. And by me surviving, we can save a bunch of more people. As long as I can survive, and as long as I'm allowed to speak and share videos and everything. Hold on. Clock. As long as I'm able to speak and share videos and continue doing everything that I'm currently doing, I can continue waking people up and breaking them free from whatever darkness they're currently in. If people are surrounded by fakers, fake friends, fake family members, people who are lying and deceiving you, just by listening to me, whatever information that resonates with you, it might help you see what you're dealing with. And, you can walk, at some point you break free from it and walk away, right? So the longer that longer that I'm able to stay alive and speak and keep sharing videos, that's more and more people around the world, whoever ends up finding my channel through word of mouth, word of mouth or randomly and all this stuff, that's people that are hopefully trying to break free from their prisons, their psychological prisons, their spiritual prisons, and their potentially physical prisons. So I was talking about this out loud in a prayer, right? Just like, okay, if you guys need more time, like, I'm at a point where I might die, like, here soon, because I ain't got much more money, man, right? And I was like, give me another $1,000, and, you can buy you guys another 4 to 6 weeks, right? So I did all this, okay. A short time later, I kid you not, short time later, like in less, I think like 45 minutes to an hour, some point I get an email notification, letting me know I had just received $1,044 on PayPal. I'm like, no fucking way, right? Sorry for my language, but like, no way. Like, really? And then I received this money, okay? I received this money, and I believe I was in my van. I was like doing stuff in my van. I can't remember what exactly I was doing in my van, but I received the notification. I'm like, that's cool. Like, I was just super excited, right? And then at some point, I was planning on going into the library. I needed to charge my some batteries, and I was just going in there to hang out. And as I'm like planning on going in there, and I'm just super excited, I'm in my van, and I have my door open, and I'm like in the process of, because I was gonna bring Milwaukee in there with me. I was in the process of just getting him, all leashed up and everything. And as I'm like excited and in my little world, all of a sudden from behind me, this lady like calls. She doesn't say my name, but she's like, excuse me, and she's like, you look like somebody that you look like you're living out of your van. Maybe you're somebody I can talk to, right? Can't remember exactly if that's what she said, but she just comes out of nowhere and just initiates this weird conversation with me, where before she even introduces herself or does any type of formal greeting, she just, excuse me, you look like somebody who's living in your van. And then I'm like, yeah, can I help you? And then she's like, you know that people are following you and taking pictures of you? And like, this is just a few days after I shared those part 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the game, right? And if you watch those videos, and you heard my story about all these weird encounters I've had with people, right? So this lady comes up. This is just a few days after those videos went up on YouTube, right? This is the following Monday. And this is right after I received $1,044 from this individual named Alex. Oh my God, thank you, Alex. Right? And then this lady comes up, and she just, she just interjects herself into my energy field just to make me turn around and engage with her. And she just outright asked me, you know that people are following you and taking pictures of you? And then she proceeds to say that there's she's like, have you ever noticed like places that you go, there's like an entourage of people that either are already there when you get there, like there's a whole bunch of people just standing around for no particular reason, or she's like, or like you go somewhere and there's people start showing up, like a whole, like you have an entourage following you. And as she's saying all of this, all of a sudden, I have been aware of all this stuff. I told her, I was like, yeah, I'm aware of all this stuff. I've actually seen people pointing their phones at me, taking pictures, or holding their phone like they're videoing me. Some people are blatantly obvious. They just stand out in the open and they're doing it. And I've seen it all. I've seen it. I haven't ever taken the time to point my phone back and record it because at the time, they kind of caught me off guard, and I just didn't really care enough to just do it back. But I've, mentally documenting all these things and taking note. And as she's telling me this, I just start all these flashbacks of over these past few weeks of all these strange encounters I've noticed and things that I have observed. And so I don't really need to go into full depth about this conversation, but she's just like pretty much just let me know that I have a lot of people following me around, taking my pictures, and then, oh yeah, okay, so then where she went from there, she proceeded to try telling me that I needed to leave Sedona. She started telling me that I should go up to Flagstaff and meet these people who can supposedly help me out of my situation. I asked her if she knew who I was. She said no. Right, so she's not acknowledging me as if she truly does know who I am. She's treating me as if I'm just a random anonymous person who she's just randomly approaching and talking to this stuff about, which is completely weird, right? That'd be completely weird if she didn't know who I was. That's completely weird to go just talk to a random person about this stuff that she was just bringing up out of nowhere. But my intuition's telling me she knows exactly who I was, and she was trying to threaten me, intimidate me, scare me, whatever. And so I engaged in a conversation with her for like half an hour, right? And so we were going back and forth, and she was essentially letting me know there's people in Sedona area that don't want me to be in Sedona because I'm creating problems just by being here, because probably they're bad people. They've been doing bad things, and I have high energy that follows me, and anybody that's up to bad stuff, well, all of that stuff eventually gets uprooted. So everybody that's been doing bad stuff in Sedona, they are all feeling threatened that their games are going to get exposed. So this lady had been given instructions to try and scare me and intimidate me and tell me that nobody wants me in Sedona, right? So she's telling me that I need to either go up to Flagstaff. She tried giving me a person's phone number, some random. She's like, I got a phone number for this person. They can help you get food. If you don't have money, they can help you get food. And again, I'm not eating random food from no random people, because I know the bad guys are trying to poison, drug me, sedate me, or whatever. So I'm not going to go eat no random food from random people, from some random lady that just randomly approached me, telling me that I need to call these people, right? So she's telling me I need to call these, go find these people in Flagstaff, and they can give me sleeping bags and all this stuff. But she's just trying to push me up north. And if you go look on a map, go get a map and look at the state of Arizona, and you look at where Sedona is, and you look where Flagstaff is, and you look as far as the roads and interstates. Flagstaff is like a four-way crossroads where you have the main interstate where you got Las Vegas and Los Angeles not too far away. If you got somebody in a fast car, they can drive to Flagstaff pretty easy. And then you got you got Denver, you got places like Denver, you got Phoenix, and places from Texas. So you got the southern border that's not far away. So anybody who connects with the highway from the southeast, they can connect to that freeway quick. And then you got up to the north, and then you got the south from Phoenix and the south border, Mexico. So this lady's trying to get me into this four-way position, from a strategic position that would allow the bad guys to come at me from all four directions right there, as opposed to being down in Sedona, which there's only one way from the north, and there's maybe one way from the southwest and a way from the southeast, but essentially it's like a choke point where you can essentially only get to me from the north and the south, kind of. And then it's surrounded by pretty gnarly terrain. The terrain, the red rocks and everything, pretty gnarly terrain. So anybody any bad guys coming from Los Angeles or Las Vegas or some big city who have been hired to come try kidnapping me or murdering me, well, from a strategic position, I'm exactly where I need to be. And this lady had been sent to try pushing me out of here. She tried to push me up to Flagstaff, or try pushing me down south towards closer towards the Mexico border, where they could have somebody, the cartel guys from the Mexico border come across, do a border hop. People who are part of the cartel, they can come try doing the dirty work, and then they jump the border again. They're just trying to get me either really far south or right in this position where Vegas and Los Angeles people or Denver people, or I'm not, and then you got Salt Lake City and stuff, any type of bad people in these big cities, they can get to me relatively easy, okay? So this lady's trying to push me in this direction, and I stand my ground, and at some point I kind of just start hinting at, yeah, I'm aware of all these bad guys. I'm not going anywhere. I just drove all the way down here, all the way down to Arizona, specifically to Sedona, to winter here, because I don't want to freeze to death, and I'm trying to stay somewhere that stays, relatively good temperatures during the winter. If it gets below freezing, big deal, but it's not it typically won't stay that way for too long, because we're in Sedona and Arizona, and then if I want to, I can go a little bit further south. But if I need to go up, if I'm up in the mountains where it's getting below freezing is the high for the day, and then it gets down into the teens or single digits or below zero, I'll freeze to death in this specific van. This van is not built for what I'm doing. It's not equipped for winter time in the sense of keeping me warm. So me being down in Sedona is strategically a survival move. So I can continue focusing on surviving and not have to deal with freezing to death. Okay. So that's me being here is it's for a reason. Okay. So there's this weird interaction with the lady that day, right? So that was Monday. That was Monday the 18th. Okay. So at some point she went away. I tried giving her my YouTube account because she was trying to intimidate me or scare me away, and I wasn't having it. And then at some point I asked her if she knew who I was. She said no. And then I asked her, well, I have a YouTube channel, and I've spoken a lot about these things that you're actually kind of trying to threaten me with. And I mean, I didn't tell her that she was threatening me, but I was like, the things that you're talking about, I've actually talked about this stuff on my YouTube channel. If you're interested, I can give you the link to my channel. And she's like, oh, no. I don't work with computers. I don't know how to use the internet or something like that. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, you don't know how to use the internet and it's 2024? Are you for real? But, I didn't say that to her. But that's what she said, and then we parted ways, okay? So that was a really weird encounter. So as soon as she parted ways, this was just after I received that $1,000 from this individual named Alex, or $1,044. So I was pumped, but then she showed up, and so she totally interrupted my excitement, my happiness for receiving this money and having my prayer answered. She came in and just totally tried messing, got me all flustered and kind of just like, what the hell was that? What was that? What kind of what the fuck? So it just kind of put me in just this state of perplexity. I was perplexed. I was bewildered. This is strange, right? But, okay, so I told you I was originally planning on going into the library, but she interrupted me. Well, ended up going into the library after this interaction. So Malaki and I went into the library. And then once I got into the library, 15 minutes, half an hour after sitting down and getting my batteries charging and stuff, my mom texts me and tells me that she just deposited $1,000 into my bank account. So, and then she tells me that go use it to, get yourself food and get dog food and all that. And I can't remember off the top of my head everything she said, but I told her thank you, and I was super appreciative of it. I did not mention this other person sending $1,000. Because it's just, if you just think about the timing of everything, and I've told you I'm being followed around all the time, and I got people keeping tabs on me. If you just think about this alternate scenario where, say I made this prayer, and everybody on the good side, they may have delivered the prayer. They heard me. Oh, here's $1,044 for you, Brandon, to get you through the next month. Well, if you're a bad guy, and you're aware that I'm catching on, well, I've already caught Jerry Durgan. Right, and I'm not sure about my mom. Maybe she is bad. Maybe she isn't. If they have somebody watching me and as soon as they saw me receive that money, they're like, oh shit, somebody just came out of nowhere and helped out Brandon. But Brandon's own family has not helped Brandon out, and they're just ghosting him essentially, not acknowledging him, treating him like he's a crazy person and stuff. Okay, so that doesn't look good on them. So they had this lady come forward, mess with me or whatever. And then while that was happening, I'm sure somebody communicated with Cindy, my mom, and Jerry, and told them that I just received money. And so whatever inspired them, whatever motivated them, then my mom deposited $1,000, within an hour and a half of that other money I just received. And I just looked at that really weird. So, I thanked her, I'm very grateful for her. If she sent that with pure positive intentions, thank you, Mom, thank you. I'm not trying not to sound like I'm accusing you of anything, if you end up watching this, but I'm just saying it's kind of odd that I'd get this money from a random person, and then my mom would step up right afterwards, after I'm starting to have these doubts about her and what side of the fence she's on, where I'm thinking she might not actually be on my side, and she might have conspired with my dad with having my dog drugged and snatched out of the house, and she full well knew it. I don't know, but that might be what it is. And as of the past 5 months, they've been doing everything in their power to try and gaslight me and try and make me doubt myself and what I caught, what I saw, and everything that happened. They're just trying to get me to doubt what happened. where I will eventually come back and apologize to them and tell them that I was wrong. That's what they've been trying to do. They're trying to, it's called damage control. They've been doing everything they can. They know they know I've caught my dad. They don't. I haven't caught my mom because she has things about her life that would give her a reason to not be aware. She's deaf. She wears hearing aids. So there's a lot of stuff that if she's not wearing hearing aids, she will miss out on it. And then she's also got her prescriptions, like, all kinds of prescriptions. And that messes with her ability to be aware of what's going on around her at certain times. And so there are different variables that would affect her ability to really dial in and dial into the things I've been sharing with her. So that's where I've been rolling. That's a perspective, a scenario that I've been rolling with, trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. But at the same time, I'm also aware that all just might be a smoke screen, and they might both be part of it. Okay, so what I'm saying is, after, if I have bad people watching me, obviously, because that lady came out of nowhere and told me I'm being watched. Okay, well, I have people watching me, and if they're somehow hacked into my phone, and they saw that I just received this money, and then all of a sudden well, that doesn't make Jerry and Cindy look good. Okay, you need to get a hold of them and let them know that you need to send Brandon money. Otherwise, it's essentially a stranger helping Brandon and helping Brandon survive, as opposed to your own family helping me survive. So these are things that I'm looking at, right? And then so after telling my mom thank you, I asked her, I was like, Mom, have you watched part 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the last videos I've uploaded on the November 16th and 17th, the game, part 1, 2, 3, and 4? I asked her if she's watched it, and she said, she's like, it's a lot of information. I asked her what episode she was on. She didn't tell me how far she was. And then I was like, okay, well, can you at least let me know when you're finished watching it? Because I want your feedback. And then she didn't. That's pretty much where the conversation ended. And that was on the 18th, and today's December 4th. And I have no idea if she's watched it. I've watched all 4 of them. No clue. She has not told me one way or the other. So there's that. I'm going to take a break real quick because the clock's almost out, and I think I need to use the bathroom real quick, but and then we're going to shift gears a little. All right. So yeah, the following day, following day, which would be the Tuesday, the 19th, right? Tuesday 19th. That next day, I ended up going back to the library in the morning. And that person, just calling him Alex, I don't know if that's his or her real name. I don't even know who it is. It could just be a fake name, but this individual named Alex, I decided that, if you think about YouTube, there's no private messaging on YouTube. You can't just, if there's a specific person you want to contact on YouTube, there's no way, as far as I'm concerned, there's no way to send them a private message. So any conversations you have on YouTube, it's usually just an open public thread where anybody can read it, right? So this individual, Alex, after he or she had sent that money, that individual contacted me on part 4 of 4, the game, and let me know, just let me know that they support me, that they've been following me since before my arrest, and that they're on my side, right? So, and I wanted to just have I wanted to say thank you to this person, but, privately, not where it's just this big open public spectacle. I don't care about that. I would just like to personally, privately thank this individual. And I was like, well, how can I do this? Okay, well, can't do it on YouTube. So I thought, okay, well, maybe it's been, I have not had, other than YouTube, I have not had any other social media account so it's been around 6 years, right? Since September 2019. So five and a half years, or a little, not quite 5.5 years. So it's been about 5.5 years since I've had any social media other than YouTube. I have not had any social media on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Hold on. Wow, bro. Spin around a number of times. So for ever since September of 2019, I have not had any Instagram account, no activity on Instagram, no TikTok, no Twitter, nothing. So with that, by saying that, if you have ever, in these past 5 years, if you have interacted with any Instagram account, any Twitter account or TikTok account or YouTube account that's not this current YouTube that you're watching it from, this channel, Riders of Apocalypse War, if you're not watching it from the original channel, and I'm saying over these past 5 years, if you have interacted with anybody that has presented themselves as me, they've made the handle Riders of Apocalypse in different variations or whatever, and they've claimed to be me, and they've been masquerading as me, and you've had conversations with people that you thought was me, but it wasn't, because I'm just saying, all the way up until, as of the past, week and a half, so as of the end of November, the beginning of December 2024, I just now created an Instagram account. So now I have one account on YouTube, which is Riders of Apocalypse War, and now I have a brand new account on Instagram, and I'm somehow able to reuse my original Instagram handle, Riders of Apocalypse _war, identical to my YouTube. So the account that I did lose all the way 5.5 years ago, all of that information, it's all gone, but I at least got the name back so I can use my original name, and I have since, for the past week and a half, been sharing stuff on there, writing. I like to write, and so I've been using Instagram as a place to write. But originally, when I've just back up 2 weeks ago, when I got this $1,044 from this individual, Alex, I went towards Instagram and downloaded the app and created a brand new account strictly for the purpose of inviting this individual to find me on Instagram, where, once he or she did find me and we added each other, I told him thank you and explained, bro, if it's a guy or a girl, whatever, I was like, you potentially saved my life and my dog's life, and, other people's lives too. I was like, I just kind of tell him big thank you, just huge shout out to him or her for, saving my life, man. And as of these past 2 weeks, I have not had to be stressed out about money. Between this individual and the $1,000 I received from my mom, I'm pretty much good for the next 2 months, next 2.5 months or so long as I'm being conservative, right? So that was my original intent with making this Instagram account, right? And so I had this conversation with this person named Alex. And where I'm going with this is, that day when I went into the library, so the following day, the next day after getting this money, and then that weird lady that approached me and told me I was being followed and stalked and having people taking pictures of me, so after that weird encounter, the following day, when Malaki and I went into the library and we found a private spot to sit, it was just like not a recliner, but just like a cushioned chair by this fire pit area, like a fireplace. It's like a lounging area within the library, and there's some tables and a fireplace and lounging chairs. Well, I'm sitting at this lounging chair by myself in the corner, and there's nobody else around me. That same lady is the day before. She magically appeared out of nowhere, came from behind the bookcases, and she literally walks straight up to me. As she's walking up to me, Malaki saw her walking up to me, so he was laying down. He was just sleeping, but he saw her walking up to me, and so he stands up, and then he stands in front of me to block her so she can't continue walking directly up to me. And so she stops when Malaki gets in her way, and she's like, can you make your dog move, or make your dog get out of the way? And I'm like, I look at her, I'm like, what? She's like, can you make your dog move? I want to show you something. I'm like looking at her, I'm like, okay. So I grab Malaki and pull him a little bit to the side. And so she walks up. She has her own, not a book like this, but she has her own little notepad. And she starts telling me, it's like, here's a number you need to call, and here's a person, and you need to call this person, and you can go, I forget if she said it was somewhere in she either said it was Flagstaff or Cottonwood. She might have told me to go to a different town. But she was trying to refer me to another person and giving me their information and trying to get me to write it down. And I'm just like looking at her, I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, lady, I don't even know you. And if you know anything about me and you know about all the messed up stuff that has happened to me over the past years, I have no reason to trust you. And the fact, I didn't say this to her, but I'm thinking it, but her head's down. She's trying to tell me that I have to do this, and I need to leave town and go there. And I'm just like, yep, yeah, okay, I'll remember. And like, I didn't take the number. I was like, yeah, I'll remember. She tried to give me a website and different stuff. At some point, I was just putting off very cold energy to her. I was not being receptive to her in a way where I was not really acting interested in what she had to say. And I was doing that on purpose because I don't know you. You're a stranger, and I'm not going to go do what you're telling me. You're not going to push me out of Sedona just because people behind you don't want me here. So she picked up on that at some point, I believe, because she just stopped trying and she just walked away. And then when she walked away, I'm just scratching my head. I'm like, man, not literally. I wasn't literally scratching my head, but I'm just like thinking, like, that's weird. She found me in the library, and this is the day after she told me people were following me and stalking me and taking pictures of me. And she found me inside the library and just walked up to me and tried again. Weird, right? And that's why I gotta write this stuff down in my book and document it. So, right? So that happened. There's not really anything else that's really worth talking about on that day. The following day, I went back to the library because I was, it's kind of, the library was kind of a place I had incorporated into my routine where I just like to go. I like to go to the public, wherever I'm at. I like going to the public library a few hours a day and taking care of any, phone or battery charging or messing around on my computer or my phone or something. It's just a place I like to hang out for a little while. So the following day, that next morning, Malaki and I come back here. I wanted to see. I was also wondering if that lady would show up again. If she was going to stalk me and approach me for a third day in a row. So I came back to the library just to see if that would happen. It didn't happen, but when I was going into the library, all of a sudden this little tiny dog comes. There was like this lounging area outside the library where people can sit at chairs and be underneath the sun. So there's this huge patio area where people can just hang out outside, right? So there's this person who I hadn't paid any attention to that was sitting in the very back underneath some shade where you couldn't even really see them. But as I'm walking Malaki towards the library door that goes through the back entrance, this little dog comes running from that individual. And this ended up being a woman, but this woman, the little dog runs up to Malaki, so they're like greeting each other, they're like smelling each other. And this woman, she stands up from the table, and before she walks over, she had a coat on, and so she takes off her coat. She had a hat, I can't remember if she took her hat off, but she took off her coat, and she's wearing like, a dress, like not like a skanky or slutty dress, but a dress, and so her chest, it's a dress and her chest is kind of revealed. And so she comes up and starts talking to me, and she's like being overly nice and like as if she's wanting to get into a conversation with me. And so she starts asking me about Malaki and then asking me if he's fixed, and I tell her no, he's not fixed. And she's like, oh, have you ever thought about having puppies with him? And she's just going straight into this. And I'm like, this is kind of a weird thing to just start talking about with a person. And no, she's putting off this sexual energy and asking me this about Malaki, if he's ever thought about having puppies. And then because she had a little dog and her little dog was female, she's like, oh, he's much too big for you, talking to her little dog. And she's just putting off this strange energy. But I'm aware of this stuff, and, considering my experience with that other woman from the other day, I was like, I'm not buying into any of this. So she might be trying to flirt with me, try to get me to, try to put off this energy to act like she's interested, which would mean, well, maybe I'll ask her for her number, ask her on a hike or on a date or something, right? She's trying to put that energy off, but I wasn't being receptive to that. I'm not falling for it. So, I'm just giving her short answers, not putting off the energy as if I'm interested. So she picked up on that, and so she went back, right? So then I go into the library, I go sit down, go about my business, and eventually I leave. After it was like a couple hours later, I leave. Nothing weird. That other lady never showed up. And then eventually Malaki and I, we get in the van, leave the library, and we go drive to a trailhead. Sedona is surrounded by all types of hiking and mountain biking trails. And I drove to a trailhead that's, a few miles from the library. And when we got there, it was like middle of the afternoon. It was a little too warm for Malaki to go out on our hike. I usually wait an hour and a half to an hour before sunset, and then we usually go on a hike or something. Sometimes a little bit before that, sometimes 2 hours beforehand. But so we get to this trailhead, and rather than just immediately going hiking, I decided to just hang out in the van for like 45 minutes or so. And while I'm hanging out in the van, at some point I just heard this vehicle parked next to me. I had all my blinds down. I couldn't see the vehicle. I couldn't see who was in the vehicle or anything, but I had my windows open. And all I could do was I just heard this person get out, and I heard a dog. And in my mind, for whatever reason, my mind is like, I bet, or it's like the energy, because I'm pretty sensitive to energy. And the energy from this car that parked next to me, the energy was telling me that it was that same woman from the library. I didn't get up and look. I didn't check and see who it was or nothing. I just kept laying there, but just this thought came into my mind that it was that woman, okay? I'm like, I didn't think much beyond that. It just, was that woman? Weird. Why am I thinking this? Whatever. But so fast forward 45 minutes or so, eventually I put on my shoes and get Milwaukee in his harness. And we get back in, we step out of the van, and then we get on the hiking trail, and we start walking up the trail. We make it like 2 minutes up the trail. Seriously, like not even 2 minutes. I'd been walking like a minute to 2 minutes. And that woman from the library, she's walking, so she's walking towards me. Apparently she had gone on a hike. Maybe she went on a hike, or she was just waiting up there, waiting for me to get out of the van, because she has somebody else watching me, and they're trying to, whoever's involved, they're trying to arrange us crossing paths again, because they're trying to create something out of it. If they're trying to get me to, they want me to meet a woman, try to meet an attractive woman, and then they'll use that woman like the Truman Show. If you think about the Truman Show, and Truman had his wife, and the whole purpose of his wife, she was nothing but an actor, and the whole purpose of her being in his life was to keep him distracted and focused on just the petty small things rather than looking at what's going on around him. Like, Truman, you're in a fake reality, bro. So it's like the handlers are trying to put this woman in my path to try to create some type of romantic chemistry, whatever you want to call it, something, right? So, I get out of the van with my dog, we start walking up the path, and within like a minute to 2 minutes, this woman who I had just encountered at the library, she's walking straight towards me, and we cross paths, and right before we cross paths, she's like, "Oh, hey, it's you. You were at the library," just trying to act nonchalant and surprised about it. I'm like, yeah, I forget everything I said, but it was pretty short, and we just kept walking past each other. But what are the odds, man? Something that makes you scratch your head. Strange, right? So that happened, and, Malaki and I, we went and did our hike. Nothing else weird. Excuse me. As far as I can remember, nothing else strange happened that night, or evening or night. But I'm just documenting these strange encounters and oddities, and that was a strange encounter oddity, right? So if you want to fast forward, let's see. Next thing I wrote down. Eventually it was Saturday. So Saturday, November 23rd. Milwaukee and I, we headed down to Cottonwood, which is the next town south of Sedona. It's like a 20-minute drive. When we drove to Cottonwood, it was, I think we got there but around 9:30, 10:30 a.m., in the morning time. It wasn't afternoon yet. And we drove to Cottonwood's city park. And at their city, like where their city park is, there's like a rec center, and there's a public library, and then there's like an elementary school and a preschool nearby, and they have a giant track, like a track you can go walking around, or a playground and a soccer field and stuff. So it's a pretty good area for me to just go hang out with Milwaukee, where I can go hang out outside and let him run around and stuff, or go on a bike ride. So we had been to Cottonwood like the week and a half prior, and so we went back to Cottonwood. You know, after spending another week and a half in Sedona, we went back to Cottonwood, and we immediately, like, the first thing I did when we got to town was went to the park. Malaki and I, we went to the park, and as we're pulling into the parking lot, guess who was there? It was the lady. I'm calling her the lady in pink. It was that woman who approached me and told me that I was being followed and people were taking pictures of me. Well, when I'm pulling into the parking lot at this place, that lady, her van is really easy to recognize. Like, she drove a white van, and she has like these bright orange. You think about like traffic cones, like those bright, like the color of a traffic cone. Well, she has like these tall plastic skinny poles on the front and left, right and left side of her bumper, so she can see the front corners of her vehicle, I guess, as she's driving. But these bright orange poles stick out of the front of her car, so her white van is super easy to recognize. All right, so as we're pulling into this parking lot, I immediately see this woman's van parked in the same parking lot. But the weird thing is, I'm in a different town. I saw her in Sedona. That encounter, all that stuff happened in Sedona, right? And as soon as I get to the city park where I'm planning on hanging out for probably 3 or 4 hours or longer, she's here, right? So weird. So over, let's see, what did I write? Yeah, so there was that encounter, and then I was like, when I saw her, I started speaking out loud, because I've told you that there's like microphones and there's people listening. So I'm like speaking out loud in my van, like calling her out. Like, are you guys, you know, if I have good guys listening, I have friends following me around, maybe bad guys too. But essentially I'm like pointing out, like, you guys seeing this? There's that woman again. And I'm getting all tripped out, okay? After I call her out and stuff, at some point, not long after, she fires up her vehicle and she like drives down the road a little ways. She just kind of goes around the corner and out of sight. Not long after, you know, I ended up, I took Malaki for his bike ride and got him his exercise, and then I got in my vehicle and I moved my vehicle to a different parking spot where I was under the shade. And when I did that, that lady showed up again. Okay, she showed up again, and she ended up parking in a spot where she could literally, from where she was sitting, she could have direct eye contact, you know, within her field of vision, she could see me. And she was parked in a way where she's literally, her vehicle is pointed directly at me. And so I can see her, she can see me. Over the period of that day, I encountered her 5 different times. Okay, so she moved around as I moved around. So throughout that day, that Saturday, I encountered her 5 different times. So there was those first few instances at the parking lot. And then, you know, I told you I hung out there a good, you know, we got there, I think, mid to late morning, and I stayed there until probably late afternoon, about an hour and a half before sunset. And so, as the late afternoon was approaching, and Malaki and I were going to go on the bike ride, you know, we left the area, and I took him down this road, down this main road where we're riding down the sidewalk. So I'm riding my bike, Malaki's ahead of me, and we're just going down this main road, and we're like probably a mile away from the parking lot where my van was. Well, as we're riding, that lady in the white van with the weird orange things, she literally is driving towards me on this main road to where she crossed, you know, as I'm riding, she literally goes right past me back towards the parking lot where she had originally been parked and where my van was parked. But we're riding, and she just drove past me, and I'm like, weird. Because I noticed her, and so all of a sudden I'm just thinking about, like, she's like literally just following me around everywhere, and I'm getting tripped out about it, right? Eventually, you fast forward another half hour or so, get Malaki all of his exercise, so then we're riding back to my van, back to the city park and parking lot area, and as we're riding, you know, see the parking lot, and we're getting close to the van. And I look over, there's the lady in her van, and she's just parked there pointing, or wait, no, she had literally, now I remember, she had parked directly in front of my van. You know, there's my parking spot, and then there's a parking spot on the other side, this little dirt median, and she's like, the vehicles are nose to nose, and there's like a little dirt median right there. And so I'm like, as I'm pulling up to the van on my bike with my dog, she's like, has her driver's door open, and she's just hanging out in her car. And then as I get to my van to where I'm going to open the door, because she's literally right there, I'm like, I'm tripping out over this. Like, I'm like, I got to get the fuck out of here. Like, what is this? And so I'm not looking at her. I'm not acknowledging her. I'm trying to ignore her, but I'm aware that she's there, right? And so she's probably aware that I'm ignoring her on purpose. And so as I'm getting my bike, I get Milwaukee loaded up, and I get trying to get the bike loaded up in the van. She like calls out to me, and she asks me, she's like, "Are you sleeping here?" And I'm like, "What?" Like, that's a weird thing to ask. She didn't even acknowledge me as if we had just spoken a few days ago in Sedona. She didn't say, "Hey, it's you. Oh, that's funny seeing you here." She didn't acknowledge me as if we'd had 2 previous interactions. The first thing she said as I'm loading up my bike, she asked me, she's leaning out of her car and kind of, I think she might have stood up to where she has like the door open. She's just kind of hollering over the top of her car door. And she's like, "Are you sleeping here?" And I asked her what, because the question kind of was so weird and off. And I just said what, I wanted to confirm what she's asking me. "Are you really asking me if I'm sleeping here? Because so you can follow me and watch me all night?" I didn't say that part, but I'm like, "What?" And she's like, and then she kind of changed the lingo. She says, "Can you sleep here?" As if she's asking if it's okay in general to sleep in the parking lot, maybe implying that she's going to be sleeping in her vehicle, and she's looking for a spot to safely sleep at night. She kind of changed it, but I just told her, I told her there's signs that say you can't sleep here. I don't know. I'm not sleeping here, and that's all I pretty much said to her, and I just, that's all I gave her. She was creeping me out. I'm not going to talk to her. And then I just climbed in my van, shut my door, fired up the engine, and I left. And then I drove a few miles, and I went and found a place to sleep that night. And I didn't have nothing weird that night, right? But the next morning I had my alarm set at like 5:45 a.m. and I was up and about. I was dressed and took Milwaukee out to go pee, and then we're firing up the van by 6 a.m. Like, I'm firing up the van by like 6:05 a.m. And then my plan is to drive to Safeway, which is a couple miles away, and go use their bathroom and buy like a donut and maybe bananas or something, some breakfast. So we drive to Safeway. It's at 6. We get to Safeway at like 6:15, 6:20 in the morning. It's still completely dark. The sun doesn't come up until like 7:10 in the morning. So it's still dark for another 45 minutes or so, right? And as I'm pulling into the parking lot at Safeway, first thing I notice is that woman, the lady in pink, the white van, is literally parked, 8 spaces away from where I parked. But the lady's not in the vehicle, but I notice her vehicle. And I'm like, no way, dude. Somebody is just telling her everywhere I'm going, and she knows all about me. She's just following me around, right? And so I don't see her, but I still need to go inside because I got to use the bathroom, and I got to go get the food that I want. So I get out of the van, I leave Milwaukee in the van, and as I'm going into Safeway, this woman is coming out the door as I'm going in, because the doors are automated and they open and close on their own as you approach it. Well, as I'm approaching the entrance, she's coming through the exit, and we cross paths like this and I entirely avoid eye contact with her. I'm not giving her anything. And so that was the very beginning of the day. And so I went and did my bathroom and eventually got my food and went back out to my van. I can't remember if she was still there or if she had left before me. But eventually I left. Milwaukee and I fire up the van, and Milwaukee and we head back to the city park. Because I was going to go give him his bike ride, and because it was the weekend, now it's Sunday, because it's the weekend, the track area and the soccer field area at the school, it was available for the public to use, so I was going to let Milwaukee go run around off-leash and stuff for a while. So I went back to the city park, and when I got to the city park, I believe that lady was not there. She wasn't there, but by the time I took Milwaukee for his bike ride and everything, and when we got back to the van, that lady was now sitting at the parking lot. So she was parked in a way where she could literally stare at my vehicle. And so that's the beginning of my Sunday, right? First I encounter her at Safeway, then I go take Milwaukee to the park to get him his exercise, and by the time his exercise is over, she had found me, and she was parked to where she could stare at me. Okay, weird. This lady right here. This is out of 7 days. In 7 days, I have encountered this lady 4 out of 7 days. She's following me around. Last night, she approached me and asked me where I was sleeping. The first time I encountered her, she asked me if, it was like, what, Tuesday, Wednesday. But on Tuesday, the first time I encountered her, she asked me if I was aware that people were following me and taking pictures of me. All right, and then she started trying to tell me that I needed to get out of Sedona and move on. All right? And, yeah, and then she found me the next day when I went into the public library. She found me inside the library and literally approached me and started talking to me again. And now that was in Sedona, and here I am in Cottonwood now, which is about 20 miles away. And when I got to Cottonwood, this lady was parked in the parking lot exactly where I was planning on going. And I encountered her 5 separate times yesterday. Throughout the day, she was moving around as I was moving around and repositioning where she was always in sight of me. She'd always see where I was at. And then right before sunset last night, she approached me and asked me where I was sleeping. And then this morning, when I got up at 6:20 a.m. this morning, I went to Safeway. And she was at Safeway where I went to go inside, go use the bathroom and get a little bit of food. She was coming out of the grocery store as I was going inside the grocery store. And her van was parked. Well, I could see where her van was parked. And then now here I am at this parking lot, near this park. I got here after leaving Safeway, took Milwaukee for a bike ride, and by the time I got back from Milwaukee's bike ride, about 40 minutes later, she was parked right there, and her vehicle's pointed right at my vehicle. I'm inside my van right now, so there's that. So out of like the past 6 days, about the past 6 days, I have encountered her 4 different days. And yesterday was yesterday was the 3rd day, and I encountered her 5 separate times yesterday. And today it's 2 times. This is the 2nd time today. And she's been sitting there for, I don't know, 45 minutes that I've known about. I have no idea what time she got here. But anyways, I had to record it. I'm documenting this stuff. Okay, and it was supposed to be pretty warm that day, so because I had given Milwaukee his exercise, and I think like an hour and a half or 2 had passed, I ended up firing up the van, and we moved back to a shaded area to where I was really taking into consideration where the woman was parked, and I didn't want her to just have direct peripheral vision of me to where she could just directly stare at me. So I went and parked to her 3 o'clock. She's sitting in her vehicle. This is the driver's seat and the steering wheel. Well, I was parked to her right at her 3 o'clock, but I was parked probably about 10 to 15 spaces down. And there was like a bush and like a tree and stuff. It kind of obscured her vision of me. And I parked as far away from her as possible underneath some shade. And I'm just keeping tabs on her, right? And then so I'm sitting there, and as soon as I park, not long after, she ended up getting out of her car, and she went to the back of her van, opened up the hatch, and then she just started taking a whole bunch of stuff out of her van and then putting it back in, and then taking stuff out, putting it back in, and she's just in this perpetual cycle of acting. She was acting like she was just organizing her stuff. But there was nothing sincere about it. It looked completely fake. Like she had repositioned herself and was doing all this stuff just so she could maintain visual contact with me, where I can't just, I'm just sitting in my van, and all I can do is see her moving around and doing this in my vision. So it's just her presence alone. She's trying to fuck with me. It's called gang stalking. It's one of the things that they do. But at some point, I think half an hour had gone by. Not long, half hour or so. At some point, this pickup truck with a canopy on its bed you know, like a pickup truck in its bed. It had its big canopy, a really tall canopy. It ended up parking in the middle, between us, between her vehicle and my vehicle, in between these spaces, and it had essentially blocked her field of vision to where she could no longer see me at all. I couldn't see her vehicle, I couldn't see her, and this truck had blocked her view. And then right after that, a few minutes later, she ended up getting in her car and moving her car probably 50 yards forward to where, from where I was sitting, she was now parked at like my 11 o'clock. Rather than being at my 9 o'clock, now she was like right here. And she had direct view of where I was sitting. And then I ended up recording it on my phone. So I'm gonna add this into the video just to show you what I'm talking about. But all of that happened, dude. So about 45 minutes ago, I repositioned the van and moved over into the shade, right? So you can see that I'm in a different position, right? Well, there's this lady, that lady I'm talking about. Well, I kind of moved so that she was kind of not able to see me, right? I moved to a different spot where she didn't have as good of a view of where I was sitting. Okay, well, she could still see me from where I was sitting. But eventually this guy, you see this guy, this truck over here, he ended up parking and blocked her view. She was parked about 4 spaces down on the other side of that truck with the tall roof. And so she moved and moved right there. So now she's parked literally where she can just watch me. Okay. And this is the same lady. The very first time I encountered her on Tuesday. Today is Sunday. So I encountered her last Tuesday. And like I said, I don't know if I mentioned it in the last video. But the very first encounter I had with her, she literally approached me out of nowhere. And she's like, you know, there's people that are following you and taking pictures of you, right? After she moved that second time, after, you know, the truck that blocked her field of vision, and then she moved to where she could see me again, I was getting really weirded out. Really weirded out. And I did not want her to just keep staring at me. And at that point, I was my energy was telling me that it might not be a good idea to stay here any longer. Something, you know, again, I follow my intuition, and when energy's telling me that I need to move, I start getting ready to move. And something was telling me I need to get ready to start moving, but because I had been sitting for a couple hours or so and I didn't necessarily know where I was going to be driving to, I decided to go take Milwaukee on a short little walk over to the city park, just so he could stretch his legs and empty his bladder, go pee, sniff around a little bit. So we walked over to the city park, and, you know, I took like 20 minutes to do this. You know, not too long, but we just moseying around the park, going over to different trees and bushes and letting Milwaukee do his thing. And I'm not like looking around acting paranoid. I'm just focused on my dog. And then at some point we ended up walking all the way back to my vehicle. And when we got back to my vehicle, I look over at the lady's van, and she's not in her vehicle. Weird. So then I start looking around, and then I spot her, and she's coming back from the park. Like, apparently, when Milwaukee and I went over to the park, apparently she got out of her vehicle and walked over to the park also. I never noticed her, though. I never saw her. I wasn't looking around, so I wasn't looking for her. But apparently, she got out of her vehicle and walked over where I was. And then after I got back to my vehicle and started looking for her, I saw her moseying her way back towards her vehicle from the park. And right when she gets to her van, she turns around and walks all the way back to the park. Really weird. And then at some point, I'm like, energy's telling me, Brandon, you gotta get out of here, bro. Like, something's off right now. Get out of here. Don't worry about this lady. Just get out of here. So I fire up my van. I'm like, okay, energy's telling me, get out of Cottonwood. Leave town. Get out of Cottonwood. Start heading back towards Sedona area, whatever. Just get out of town and find a place to stop. Okay, so that's what essentially as I was doing. I fire up the van, and as I'm driving out of the parking lot, I spotted that same lady, and she was underneath some little trees, kind of in this kind of strange spot in this there's like a separate parking lot. There's no cars parked over there, but I saw her talking to another woman underneath a tree, and I didn't see her look at me as I was leaving. I don't know, but I just saw her interacting with somebody, and then I was out of there, right? So I leave. I drive all the way out of Cottonwood and I drove pretty much to the halfway point between Cottonwood and Sedona. I told you it's like a 20-minute drive, so it's approximately about 20 miles, 19 miles between towns. So I pretty much stopped in the very middle. The energy was telling me just stop in the middle. I stopped at this rest area. There's a bathroom in a big parking lot, and I just sat there. I parked under some shade. I'm out in the desert, right? And there's nobody around me. And Malaki's just hanging out in the van. We're under the shade. It's a bright sunny day. Within like 10 or 15 minutes of being parked there, all of a sudden, back towards Cottonwood. Cottonwood's probably 10 miles away, so there's a lot of desert between town and where I'm parked. There's ridges and hills in between. All of a sudden, in the distance, not super far, but pretty far, all of a sudden just gunfire starts erupting. Just gunfire, fucking semi-automatic. At some points it sounded like fully automatic. High caliber weapons, low caliber weapons. But there was gunshots that just started. It was just non-stop gunfire for like 45 minutes to an hour. Like, I'm just sitting there with my window down, and in the direction I have just driven, just non-stop gunfire in the distance. Just gunshots. Just wouldn't stop. And while this is happening, some travel van, similar to my van, but different model. I think it was like a Chevy or something. It pulled off. It came out of nowhere and ended up parking, I don't know, 150 yards away from me, and they just sat there, being able to observe me, or at least maintain eye contact with me, and they sat there for a while. And then another, I think it was a Sprinter van, a Mercedes Sprinter van. Another van showed up and parked in the same parking lot as me, but in a different spot, and they sat there for a while. And then there was I think like two or three airplanes flew over my position really low and really slow. And I think a helicopter also flew over my head. So a lot of really weird shit going on while I was sitting there, and this was right after leaving Cottonwood with all that weird stuff with that lady. What was all the gunfire? I have no idea. I have no idea what any of it was. I tried recording some of it with my phone. I'll add a couple clips into the video. But there was also a bunch of wind, so there's a lot of wind noise hitting the microphone on the camera. But I'll mess with it around, try to make it so you can hear it. But in the distance, you can hear all the gunshots. I didn't record all of it. I only recorded bits and pieces of it because a lot of it I was just listening to. But at some point, I did record some, just for documentation purposes. Been a gunfight or something way out. It's miles away, but I've been listening to gunshots for like the last half hour, pretty regular. Different caliber guns. Some pretty high caliber guns, and then there's lower caliber. There's been some pretty, almost sound like explosions a couple times. But it's a long ways away. Been airplanes flying over me too. Had a couple airplanes fly right overhead. And they're flying out in the direction that I'm pointing my camera. They can hear the airplane drone, like the drone of the airplane engine. They're flying around out there, and they were flying over my head all morning. This is the same day as that weird lady in the parking lot. I cleared out. I cleared out of Cottonwood and came out into the desert. I'm out in the desert. This van over here, he showed up about, I don't know, 20 minutes after I got here, half an hour after I got here, and he parked there. Right now I'm kind of in between Cottonwood and Sedona. But right now I've just been listening to gunshots ever since I got here. But not long after I got here, I started noticing gunshots, a whole bunch of them in the distance, and it really hasn't stopped. I'm not sure if my microphone on the phone is picking it up. Now there's two vans. There's two vans. Airplanes circling above me, two vans, and gunshots. A bunch of gunshots out that way. But most of those gunshots are coming from, like, the town Cottonwood is in that direction. Like on the other side of that ridge. Not that mountain, not that far mountain, but that ridge in the middle of the screen. Cottonwood's not that far behind it, so I have no idea why there's a whole bunch of gunshots coming from that direction, because there's also a highway in between me and that ridge. And it sounds like the gunshots are coming from the other side of that ridge. I don't know. It's kind of strange. It's not the first time either. I've been hearing a lot of gunshots, like earlier this week too, and then there was another weird incident too. And then at some point, after sitting at that spot for like an hour and a half to 2 hours, the energy started telling me, don't sleep here. This is not a place to sleep. You need to go find somewhere else and head back to Sedona. So this energy is like, I ended up driving all the way back to Sedona, and I ended up finding a place to sleep for the night, okay? But as far as that, I don't think anything else weird happened that day. Let's see real quick. Yeah, I might cut out some of that stuff, but or not cut out some of that stuff, but yeah, there's not really anything else that really happened anything weird that happened that day. I have not seen that woman in pink. I have not seen her since then. Whatever she was up to in both in Sedona and in Cottonwood by appearing to be following me around, I have not seen her since then. And it's been over a week since all of that went down. She could have been scooped up if she was a scout or somebody that was part of gathering intel and just watching me, and she's communicating with other people who were trying to find an opportunity to come after me. Well, she could have got picked up. And all that gunfire I listened to, there might have been a gunfight, between law enforcement and, maybe the cartels. There's cartels out there. They're the people that I've been up against. Well, I got the bad guys. Their minions. A lot of their minions are after me. And so that's, I'm saying law enforcement might be intervening and intercepting a lot of this shit. I'm going to take a break real quick. Because I need to evaluate where I'm going to be going next with what we're talking about. Hello. It's the following day. As you can see, I'm in different clothes. I had to shave this morning. It's December 5th. It's 11:20 in the morning. Yesterday, when I cut with when the camera stopped rolling, I looked at the time, and it was getting close to Malaki's hiking time. I go usually close to late afternoon, around sunset. I take Malaki for his hike because once it gets dark, that pretty much shuts down everything that I'm able to do. So that's part of my routine, is Malaki gets his evening exercise. before we lock it down in the van for the night. So yeah, I had to stop, and then at the same time, once it did get dark, I went and reviewed all the footage. I recorded it. It was about an hour and a half, so I had to review that just to get my thoughts organized. And so we're pretty much just going to be continuing from where I left off. Just where this last cut ended, that was I was speaking about November 25th. So that was Sunday, November 25th. Where I encountered that weird lady for the last time, and I haven't seen her since then, right? And then there was all those gunshots, okay? So all the gunshots and everything that I talked about, I'm planning, I haven't done it yet because I haven't done the assembly part, but I'm gonna have those videos in there. So in my mind, the videos are in there, so you've watched that, right? So if you listen closely, you may have needed to rewind it a couple times just to really kind of listen through the noise from the wind that's hitting the microphone, but you can hear gunshots. It was really hard for me to record it because at different times it was too windy and you couldn't even hear anything. So that was the best I could do, and it was a long distance away. So continuing forward, after everything that happened that Sunday with just all that weirdness, through the remainder of the next week, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, this is leading up to Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving was on, what was that, the 28th, Thursday the 28th, I believe. What day? Thursday on Thanksgiving was Thursday. And so that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I didn't encounter anything, I didn't encounter anything out of the ordinary, anything that really just, anything that would really just make me scratch my head and be like, that doesn't seem right. Nothing weird, okay? For those 3 days, I ended up taking Malaki on quite a few walks and hikes. I think one day, him and I, we went on a 3-hour hike, and it was some pretty rugged terrain. So for Malaki, it's like an obstacle course. And these places I've been going, I've been able to let him off leash because there hasn't been too much foot traffic. So he's been off leash running on these pretty cool hiking trails, and a lot of it's like he's scrambling up and down rocks and boulders, and so he's getting a lot of really good exercise, and he loves it. So so that'd be last week last week. So that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah, he got a ton of exercise those days. Lucky. Malaki, look my way. Look my way, Malaki. Oh, he doesn't like having the camera pointed at him. He never looks my way when I have the camera pointed at him. All I want is one picture, and he won't give it to me. He just keeps looking that direction. It's all right. Pretty cool spot. Hold on. Stop. Hiking some cool trail. What do you think, buddy? What do you think? Let's go over here. Oh. This way. And then once Thursday came around, Thanksgiving, me being in my van and I'm alone, right? If you put yourself in the shoes of the bad guys who have put me in this situation and they know everything about my situation, if you can shift gears in your brain and pretend you're a sadistic, fucked up individual as far as your mind, well, imagine all of those bad people out there that know about my situation where I've been living in my vehicle for 5 months. I have nobody to talk to. I have, like, if you just think about my phone right here, I have nobody in my phone who I can just call or text to just talk to, just, about, hey, how are you doing? What are you up to? How's your last week? How's your week been? Or how's it been since the last time we've talked? And then we just have a nonchalant, like, casual conversation. I have nobody not only do I have nobody to talk to, but nobody is calling me, checking on me, and asking me how I'm doing or anything about my current situation. With exception to my mom, I'm going to be getting into this a little bit deeper on this last little segment regarding Thanksgiving. But I'm just saying in general, I haven't had anybody that I could call and just bullshit with. College friends from the people that I've met while traveling, anybody who I've ever met and we've exchanged numbers. I have nobody who I can just call and talk to, and at the same time, nobody who's checking on me, asking me how I'm doing, or if there's anything they can do to help me. So there's no communication either way in that regards. Okay. So when it came to Thanksgiving, imagine if you're one of those bad guys and your goal was like, okay, now their goal, I've been in my van for 5 months, right? And so all the bad guys that are out there and they know about my situation, well, in the back of their minds or maybe in the front of their minds, they have been anticipating or hoping that once we arrive to Thanksgiving, Christmas time, New Year's, this month and a half long time span that are considered the holiday season, they have, their goal has been to make my emotions and my mind fall into a state of depression or bitterness, anger, frustration, all that. They just want me in these low frequencies, these low vibrations, right? So I'm aware of all this stuff, and I've accepted my situation. I've accepted what I'm going through right now. It is what it is, and I'm aware of who I'm up against and how sadistic they are, how messed up they are. And so because I'm aware that they have been wanting me to my energy to fall into these low frequencies, these low vibrations where, I'm essentially in a state of depression or sadness or whatever. Well, going into Thanksgiving, just this last week, I kept myself lifted up. I acknowledge that I'm alone, okay? And while I'm alone, while I'm out alone with my dog, I'm just going to be in a state of observation where I want, from the beginning of the day throughout the entire day, I was just wondering, I wonder if my mom will at some point communicate with me and tell me happy Thanksgiving, try and have a conversation with me. I wonder if my own father would say anything, or my own sister, or anybody in my extended family, or anybody in general, if anybody would reach out and contact me and tell me happy Thanksgiving, and ask me how I'm doing or anything. Okay, so I was not sitting there watching my phone with a mindset, well, if nobody contacts me, I'm going to become sad and depressed. Like, no, that's not where I was operating from. I'm just, as far as I've already accepted my situation, and right now I'm just really observing how messed up the situation is, like on the big scale, not just for me, but again, I have no idea where my friends are. I have no idea what's happened to them. I don't know who may have approached them and who has threatened them to keep their mouth shut and to not be allowed to talk to me. There's a whole bunch of really messed up variables that I'm aware of and am always considering. So, just because I haven't heard from my friends doesn't mean that my friends hate me. Well, there might be things out there that, if they come forward, that puts them in danger or something. So I get it. And I wasn't worked up about it, but from an observational standpoint, I was just observing the lack of any type of communication coming through my phone, where there's obviously a lot of people who know about my situation, a lot of people who know I'm living in my van and I'm entirely alone, who know I have nobody to talk to, who know my only companionship that I have is Malaki, my dog. It's just him and I, and every single day it's just him and I, and we're just doing everything we can to move forward and keep a positive attitude, a positive mindset, to not fall into these lower frequencies, right? There's so many people out there who know about me, but there's zero communication as far as however many people know about me, whoever knows about me, whatever occupation or profession, wherever they work, I don't know. I mean, I have no knowledge of, but I'm just considering about, if you rewind back to 2018, 2019, when I was pretty much only operating through Instagram at my peak, when I was, before things just went off the rails and everything just got really scary and everybody had no idea what was going on, when my Instagram first took off and when I was just getting hundreds of followers every single week, man, for all the way until I was like at 11,000, 12,000 followers, right? Well, they had the Instagram had the analytics. You could click on analytics and you could see what type of traffic your content was generating. Any given post, you could see how many people have seen it, how many times it's been reshared, how many likes it's had, comments and stuff. So you can kind of just observe if it has nothing to do with, oh, I'm becoming popular, but it's just, if you're just looking at it from an observational standpoint where you're just observing the trends and the patterns. Well, I'm saying at my peak, when I was solely operating through Instagram, just writing and sharing content, I was reaching like around a quarter million, or not a quarter, yeah, around a quarter million to 300,000 people, either people or views per week. That was a lot. So if you just think about back then, there was a lot of people who came across me in different ways, and at some point they become aware of me and my page, and at some point when things went off the rails, and I started speaking on front of camera, where rather than just having Instagram, people could see me speaking. Everything just went fucking crazy back then, right? But at the same time, my strategy, if you think about chess, all I was doing, didn't matter if you hated me, didn't matter if you liked me, didn't matter if you were anywhere in the middle. All I was doing was just pulling people's attention on me, right? Pull, 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 get as much attention on me. And then at some point I started pointing my fingers at these people that are doing bad things. I'm just started trying to let you guys know these are the real bad guys. I know I'm just getting your attention, and now I'm letting you guys know where it's coming from, because my behavior is all over the place and you guys are getting scared of me, or you're unsure of me, you don't know why I'm behaving the way that I am. Well, a big part of it was because I met people that they're into some deep messed up stuff, and I found out about it. I mean, I didn't find out everything, but I found out enough to know that they're part of some really bad stuff. And now that I was aware and they lost control of me to where they could no longer manipulate me and try pulling me in, now I was like, now that I had separated, well, now they were trying to set me up, not only slander my name and make people think I'm just a crazy person. They've been trying to make me disappear, like, get me locked away forever or get me to commit suicide. They try to get me to either get institutionalized and disappear in a prison or a hospital, state hospital forever, or try and break my mind and get me to commit suicide or something. That's what they've been trying to do since then. And where I'm going with this is that where we're at today, all of those people, they're still around and they're still aware of everything, right? And they're still trying in different ways. There's a lot of things that I have learned over these past 5-6 years that they do not want anybody to know about this stuff, okay? So when we come to Thanksgiving and the fact that I have nobody contacting me, nobody that I can contact, and the big giant mystery of where is everybody, I'm aware of what the answers are, and I'm aware of why a lot of people can't talk to me. And so it's like anybody who is in this realm where you are aware of me and you have not been allowed, for whatever reasons, you're essentially, the term is a gagged person. You're aware of things, but you're not being allowed to talk to me under fear of consequences, severe consequences, should you break that silence and all of a sudden you come forward and start telling me stuff. I'm aware of all this. So I'm not tripping on it, right? I'm not tripping out about it because I'm aware of the bad guys and I'm aware of how bad they are, really evil people. Okay, so as we go through Thanksgiving, sometime around late morning, very early afternoon, somewhere around noon or so, I decided to leave Sedona and I drove out into the desert, out into BLM, where there's some dispersed camping, and I found a place to camp for the night, okay? So I found my own little private place to camp for the night, just out in the desert. So there's other people camped around me and stuff, so I wasn't entirely like out there by myself. There was other people around. That day, I'm just sitting in a state of observation. My phone's completely silent, and then I'm just in my brain just thinking about the big picture of everything, and I'm just thinking how many think about all these families and everything around the country who are out there eating their stomachs full to the point of where they need to wear their stretchy pants or they got to unfasten their belt to make room for how much there's a plane. I'll let that pass. I'm thinking about all these people that are they're just eating so much food on Thanksgiving to the point where, they got to undo their entire belt and undo the button on their pants, or they're wearing stretchy pants. How many people are just eat, and all these people who might be, a lot of these people who are aware of me and they're aware of my situations, yet they're out there partying, they're out there having these great big giant dinners with their families and friends and stuff. And then there's also the people who have no idea about my situation or anything going on in this world. They're literally in a completely hypnotic, asleep state where they're completely oblivious to anything except for what's going on around them. That's all that matters to them. So hooray, it's Thanksgiving. Let's eat because that's what you're supposed to do on Thanksgiving. So there's different different circles. You got the people that have no idea. You got the people who do know about my situation, but they just don't care, or I don't know. I have not accusing anybody of anything, but there's people who know about my situation, and they're just bystanders. They're just watching it all happening. And then there's also the people who are on my side, and they know where I'm at and they know what I'm doing. And I had protection. I had people watching out for me that were out in the desert with me that Thursday, Friday. So I wasn't alone. I didn't have nobody to talk to, but I had bodyguards and people watching out for my safety. But these are all things I'm thinking about out there. Like, how many people know about me, but they're just out there partying and they don't care. And then you got people who do know about me, and instead of give me a second. Instead of going and having a big dinner, they came out and hung out with me in different ways. A lot of messed up stuff happened in those 2 days. That, I'm going to be explaining this, but I'm just getting choked up a little. I'm going to stop it real quick. Alright, sorry about that. What I was saying is, rather than being out there, everybody out partying and just getting drunk and eating, just eating, I had a lot of people, I had a lot of people out in the desert with me working, whether law enforcement or military. There were people out there on protection duty, and there were gunshots. I actually recorded some of it, and I'll show you. It was right around sunset. Right around sunset, I took Malaki out for a walk, and all of a sudden, just gunfire started erupting, probably about a mile away from me. My guess is about a mile. Just all kinds of gun chatter, man, for probably about 10 minutes. It was sporadic, and I was only able to record one portion of it. I'll add that in there. So that happened Thanksgiving evening, and my intuition was telling me it's not somebody just out shooting, target shooting, because if you consider Sedona, it's a very popular touristy area, and there's a lot of hiking trails and biking trails and people driving their tourist vehicles out on vehicle tours and ATVs, where it's just, if there's people out target shooting, and that's very dangerous, because you don't know who's in the background. And when all that gunfire erupted, my intuition, was telling me that there's something going on over there. I have no answers, no answers, but, that happened right before it got dark on Thanksgiving, and then eventually Malaki and I went back to our van, and then what Malaki and I ate for Thanksgiving, all I had to eat was a bread, meat, and cheese sandwich. A sandwich that's like this thick. I got 2 slices of bread and then meat and cheese stacked together, so it's like this much. That's all I had to eat. And Malaki, I gave Malaki his dry kibble, and then I gave him some cheese, half a slice of cheese all broken up, and a few slices of meat all torn up, and some bread and stuff. So he got a smorgasbord and mixed with his dry kibble, and he ate it all. I didn't, and then I didn't really have much to eat that night. So when you start thinking about all these people out there eating their stomachs full, and and then especially the people who know about me and know about my situation, it's like, well, it's kind of messed up a little bit, rather than having anybody, nobody's contacting me, and it's kind of messed up. Nobody's trying to communicate with me. I'm not saying that they aren't. I'm just saying from my perspective that it's just not being allowed. Like, nobody's being allowed to talk to me, which is super messed up, right? Okay, so after it got dark and after I fed Malaki his dinner, or wait, before we had dinner, I ended up doing a Thanksgiving prayer, kind of like how I'm doing now, sitting in my van where I'm talking out loud. I ended up making a prayer, and I spoke for probably about 45 minutes to an hour. I spoke for a while, just talking about a lot of things, and then also giving thanks. A big portion of it was a big thanks to everybody who's been following me around and keeping me safe. And then I also gave a big shout out, whoever was listening that night. I gave a big shout out to like law enforcement for, I don't know where they stand with me. I'm sure a lot of law enforcement has been scared. I'm not like everybody, so there's things about me that might scare them. But they've been, for whatever reasons, all law enforcement has been respectful of my space, and they haven't been messing with me. So I gave a big shout out to them for, as a thank you for allowing me to roam where I want to. I got my dog, I got my vehicle, I got my freedom. Even though I'm pretty confined and restricted inside the 60 square foot living area, I have the freedom to roam and go live my life to the best of my ability given my circumstances. So I gave a big shout, while I'm doing my Thanksgiving prayer, talking about all this out loud. And just to acknowledge everybody who has been aware of me and has been either full on watching my back, or at least has been keeping their distance and letting me have my space without messing with me. That's a big part of it. And then at some point in my prayer, I started I focused my mind towards my own family, my mind, right? I focused my mind towards my family. And I'm like thinking about this, like at that, when I did this, when I started doing this prayer, it's like 5 o'clock or so, 5 p.m., 4:30, between like 4:30, 5:30 p.m. is when I'm doing this prayer. And I start like focusing my attention towards my family. And at that point in the evening, I hadn't heard a word. I had not heard from my mom, dad, or sister, or nobody. So I had no idea what's going on back home. So I'm just speaking out loud, saying like, Heavenly Father, I have no idea what's going on back home. Like, for all I know, they're all having a giant dinner at my sister's house, as if, the thing is, they're having a dinner like they always do every single year, a big dinner, usually making the exact same food, but the only difference with the entire family dynamic at the house is that I'm not there. Everything's the same except I'm not there. And the thing is, Jerry and Cindy know why I'm not there. I've told them why I'm not there. Whatever they have told me, trying to defend themselves while lying to my face, doesn't really matter. They know in their hearts and in their minds why I'm not there. And so they're all having this big dinner. And in their minds, they know why that seat where I have been sitting pretty much the majority of my life for Thanksgiving, with exception to a few years in my lifetime, I've always been home for Thanksgiving. Except this year, my reason for being absent is for some pretty fucked up reasons. And as of this current moment, they know I'm never coming back. They know where I'm at because I've communicated all of it, and I'm patiently waiting for Jerry Durgan to get locked up for what he did to, whoever was involved with that. But I caught my own father. He has no excuses. I'm not going into that, but I'm just saying on Thanksgiving, my mom and dad know I'm not. They know why I'm not there. And then you start looking at my sister. My sister is 4 years older than me. She is like a head nurse at a hospital in Central Oregon, right? And I have not heard from her or spoken to her for over 6 months, since like the month of April or May. I have not heard from my sister. So I have no idea what she is thinking in her brain. I have no idea what she thinks about me, what she believes about anything at all in the world, nothing. There's no communication between me and my older sister. I have no idea what my father has told Janelle about what happened on June 14th, and I'm also not sure if maybe Janelle is the one who snatched my dog out of the house on June 14th. Maybe she did. I'm not saying she is, but again, I don't have any of these answers, and the fact that I haven't heard from my sister for all of this time, even though I've been in my van for 5 months, it makes you scratch your head and just like, no communication. So you just think about this, Thanksgiving dinner, sitting at the dinner table. My mom and dad know. My sister she might fully know, and she might just be outright terrified because things did not go according to plan on June 14th, and she's just terrified about the fallout. Her husband, I don't know what his awareness is. And then I have a niece and nephew, so they have 2 younger children. I have no idea what my niece and nephew perceive about their Uncle Brandon. You know, I had good memories with my nephew when he was really little, just as my niece when she was really little. But now that they're older and they can think for themselves, I don't know what my mom and dad and their mom and dad has told them about me, and I don't know if my niece and nephew have an entirely wrong perception about their uncle and why I'm not in Central Oregon right now and why I wasn't home, why I wasn't there for Thanksgiving, or if they're aware of stuff and they're just being told to keep their mouth shut about it. I don't know, and that's really messed up. And you think about just this big, beyond my family, and we talk about how all the children in this world are all being targeted by these sickos. All you got to do is start looking at the LGBTQ agenda with them targeting children, right? Just in a big context, in a big spectrum, all the children out there, including yours if you have children, all of your children are being lied to and manipulated in different ways. What's going to happen? You know, I'm just pulling my niece and nephew out of the hat as an example. What's going to happen if my niece and nephew have been lied through their entire childhood and their early teenage years about me, and everything that they perceive about me is nothing but lie after lie after lie? What's going to happen to the family dynamics between, you know, my niece and nephew and their mom and dad and their grandma and grandpa, you know, my mom and dad? What's going to happen if my niece and nephew find out the truth at some point, and then, you know, for example, maybe they find my YouTube channel and then they start watching my videos behind their parents' back, and then all of a sudden they're hearing an entire different perspective than what they've been told about Uncle Brandon? What do you think that's going to do to the family unit? You think things are going to implode within the family unit? You think things will implode as far as my mom and dad, their grandma and grandpa? You think everything will just shatter? Okay, if that can happen to me, it can happen to anybody, right? It does this. My situation is it's the real life thing. This is what I'm dealing with now. And so I'm just letting you guys know this is what's in the works at the moment. This is what I have on my plate at the moment. I have no idea anything about what's been going on back home in Central Oregon this entire span that I've been gone for 5 months, right? So I'm saying, so that last week at Thanksgiving, I'm talking about all of this out loud through my Thanksgiving prayer. I conclude my prayer, right? And then I make up the food, you know, I feed Malaki, and then I eat my sandwich. And so this, in a span of about 15 to 20 minutes, after making this prayer and talking out loud about my family and stuff, all of a sudden I got a text message from my mom. And the text message, I will attach it. I'll attach it and show you guys. But my clock's running and I'm just going to try to go off memory. But it's like, my mom's like, we're at your sister's house right now. We miss you, or I miss having you here. She said you should go to the grocery store and get yourself some hot food, how are you? And what did she say at the end of it? She asked me how I am. I can't remember how it ended. Don't worry, I'll let you read it. But the fact that she sent this text message, you know, the day's almost over. It's all right. Like, but when she sent it, it was almost completely dark. It was like twilight, right? And so the fact that she had messaged me right after I had made my prayer, calling them out, weird. Okay, weird. And it's like, I ended up not texting her back. I just, you know, I could really just get into it with her, and just ruin her day, ruin their Thanksgiving. I'd just say, like, Mom, if you only knew, I'm out in the desert on my own eating a fucking a cheese, meat, and bread sandwich, and that's all I have, you know. Could really get into it with them, and just really let them, you know why I'm out here, right? You and Dad both know why I'm out here away from you guys. Like, I could have really got into it, but I didn't. Instead, I just didn't say anything. Okay? So that kind of rubbed me wrong. But if you just think about the timing, and I keep telling you that when I'm speaking out loud, that I perceive there's people listening through different microphones or through my phone itself, like whatever. But if you know, just like when if you can backtrack in the video, this current video, remember when I was talking about that anonymous person that sent me $1,044, and then that weird lady approached me like right after that, and then as soon as and then right after the lady went away, by the time I made it to the library, it had been a span of about 45 minutes that I had received that money, 45 minutes to an hour. And so by the time I made it to the library, my mom's texting me, letting me know that she just deposited $1,000 into my account. So you just think, master of timing, like, well, what are the odds? If you just look at this, all happened within 2 weeks, right? And I've hardly talked to her at all. But every time I've talked to her, it's been right. She's just been a little bit too late, where somebody else has stepped in and helped me before them. Or I've called them out before I had any kind of communication with them, meaning as I'm calling out this bullshit or calling out this nonsense, after I call it out, okay, not long after, all of a sudden I receive a text message from the very people that I've been calling out, my mom and dad, right? So it's kind of weird, right? So that all happened on Thanksgiving. There was those gunshots that happened out there right before dinner when I was taking Milwaukee on his walk. So there was those gunshots out there. And then I came inside, made my prayer, and all of a sudden I get a text message from my mom. Okay, so that's kind of all odd stuff, right? If you want, concluding Thanksgiving, at some point I ended up going to bed at like 9 o'clock, 9 p.m. or something. That night there were airplanes, and I can vaguely remember it, but I remember hearing aircraft flying over, low-flying aircraft flying over my van while I was trying to sleep. The noise of the aircraft woke me up. I wasn't tripping out about it, but because if you got surveillance aircraft, they got infrared cameras and they're watching out for bad guys that might be trying to sneak up on my van. Well, they're out there, while, like I said, I was very thankful for the protection I had while I was out in the desert. And I was saying that there's a lot of people working that night, rather than them being out with their families having dinner. They chose to be out on helping me. They're working, protecting me that night. So, which includes the pilots. You got helicopters and aircraft flying around while it's dark at nighttime and into the early hours of the morning. So there's these aircraft flying over, okay, and then the following day, that Friday, right? So that was the 29th, I think. Friday the 29th, if I remember the date correctly. I had aircraft flying over my head during daylight hours. I'll show you the video. I had a helicopter flying low off the ground, and he flew straight, like a beeline, straight at me as I'm sitting in my lawn chair next to the van. I think I was like messing around on my phone. I might have been doing Instagram or something. And this helicopter just flies straight at me, low off the ground. He goes straight over my head. I got my camera. I'm like this. So I'll show that. I'll put that in the video.
Yeah.
Ugh. There he goes. What are you thinking? What were you thinking, you handsome doggy? Yeah, he's so handsome. Good boy, huh? Good boy. Yeah. Laying in the sun. Laying in the sun, yeah. Good boy. Yeah. Out in the desert. Um, so these are, I'm trying to record stuff as it happens with my phone, but sometimes things happen before I have time to respond and get my phone. Because sometimes you get distracted with your phone, and rather than watching it, you're distracted, so you miss it. So sometimes I don't have the opportunity to record things, but other times I try to. This was one of those instances. I could see the helicopter, could hear it approaching, I could see it flying straight at me, and so I recorded it. Let's see. And then I think it was, I can't remember if it was before or after, there was he was a forest ranger. I think he was a forest ranger. He was in full green, like a full green uniform, like dark green pants and I think it was like the same color jacket. He had, if I remember correctly, he was a forest ranger. This guy, I didn't hear him approach, as far as his vehicle, but I was sitting there, I'm sitting in my lawn chair by the van, and all of a sudden I heard somebody walking through the trees and stuff behind my campsite. And all of a sudden I look over, there's a forest ranger and a young woman around his age. She wasn't in uniform, she was just in casual clothes. But they ended up wandering up to my camp spot, and I ended up just getting in a peaceful conversation with them. Malaki was on the leash, and then the forest ranger asked if he was friendly, and so I told him he was, so he pet Malaki, and we had a good interaction. He ended up giving me a fist bump, and then, they took off, and that was it. And that's all I really need to share about Friday. There was other weird things that happened that night, but I'm not going to go into it on camera, just because of the circumstances of things right now. There's a lot of uncertainties. So that Friday, and then so Friday is done with as far as talking about, and then after Friday, pretty much from Saturday all the way up until today, which today's Thursday, December 5th. So these past Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, these past 5 days, I have not had any weird things happening around me, anything noticeable that's just like weird or odd. It's, as of this past 5 days, it has, the energy, when I'm talking about energy and I'm talking about how I'm sensitive to energy, for these past 5 days, the pressure and has been down. There hasn't been as much pressure around me, and I've been able to just go about my day with Malaki without any type of strange interference, and it's been really nice. This past week has been pretty mellow, pretty easygoing. And part of me feels like there might have been a lot of shit that happened last week, and right now, the good guys have me, where I'm at, they have me locked down in a safe area. I'm able to navigate my way around Sedona in a safe way. And then at this point, it feels like, there's bad guys trying to get into me, but they're getting intercepted before they can get, but it's like there's bad guys trying to get to me, but they're being intercepted before they can get anywhere close to doing anything to me. That's how it's felt. I'm not saying that, it still feels like there's a lot of shit going on, but as far as the pressure around me, it's kind of alleviated, and I have not been encountering any weird people lately. And so that's where this video is really coming, why I'm doing this video now. I have been wanting to make another video for, since the beginning of this week, and last weekend I've been contemplating making my next video. I just haven't known what I really wanted to talk about, and just yesterday morning is when I got that. Just had something come flying into my brain, and it was like an aha moment. I was like, oh, okay, I got it now. Now I have direction. So it was like getting the green light, and it's like, okay, Brandon, it's time to make your next video. You got a lot of stuff you can talk about. So that's that's why I'm making a video now. It's like I'm getting the go ahead, and so. So for these, since yesterday, Thursday, December 4th, and today, December 5th, and potentially probably tomorrow, December 6th, I'm going to be in the process of, getting the recordings done and then getting the videos assembled and then shared, right? So this last little bit on this video, I'm just going to I'm going to bring up Instagram again. So Instagram, when I first made the Instagram a couple weeks ago, when I received that $1,000 from that individual named Alex, I created that Instagram to open up this door, a metaphorical door, which would allow me to have a private conversation with this person away from YouTube's comment threads where it's all just public. Just so if this individual Alex wants to have a private conversation with me, ask me things or whatever, and we could do it in a private way. I mean, obviously, everything's always being monitored and observed by the outside forces. By the outside forces. So it's not like it's a completely private thing. Like, nothing's really private. But as far as the public sphere, it's a private place where not everybody can read it. And that's the intention. That was my intention for making the Instagram. And then so just fast forward like 4 or 5 days, the energy started telling me, okay, rather than having your account private, let's just make it public, and anybody who finds out about your Instagram account, anybody who knew about me back before my arrest in 2019, anybody who was following me from 2018, 2019, there's all those people. A lot of them are still out there. Whether or not they know about me or know that I'm alive, I don't know. But I made my account public, so anybody who does find me, they're welcome to follow my page. You can you can click the follow button, or you don't even have to click the follow button, and you can just follow my page anonymously without any type of interaction. I don't care. For some people who think it's the most important thing in the world, I don't care about likes or follower count. I don't need a bogus or fake, fictitious, inflated follower count in order to do the right thing. I don't need 1 million people staring at me in order to do the right thing. I'm going to try to do the right thing, whether I have one person watching, 1,000 people watching, 1 million, or nobody watching. If there's nobody watching, I try to be the same person that I am as if there's a bunch of people watching. So instead of, for these past 5 years, the only thing, as far as you as a viewer, the only place you could find me was through my YouTube channel. That was the only thing that remained standing after everything else that I had that got taken away from me. YouTube is the one place where I still had my page, and I still had a lot of my videos, and it allowed me to still exist in some way, so people know that I'm at least alive. And if I'm putting out a few videos, that people at least know I'm alive, right? And it's all just it's all evolved as it has. And then, so 5 years later, just this past couple weeks, I decided to create my first Instagram account since before my arrest. And now is a time where I'm inviting, whoever you are as a viewer, if you have Instagram, or it's not difficult to download, but you can go download the app, or if you already have an account, well, you can find me there now. You can find me on, Riders of Apocalypse _ and then War, WAR, right? Exact same as before, exact same. Okay, and since then I've uploaded around 100 things. So, you're hearing this, you find out, oh, Brandon's on Instagram account. Brandon is on Instagram again. Cool. Okay, now your next step, go find it. Okay, well, once you find it, you have 100 things that you can browse through So, you know, I've already created a foundation, so there's content there for you, things for you to read, things that might help you in one way or another. So I'm already started on that, and again, I don't care about the followers. It's all just an illusion anyways, but I'm just letting you know. And then one final thing on that, on the Instagram regard, anybody who does message me, whether on a public post or privately, there are certain things I will not talk about. There are certain individuals who I will refuse talking about or acknowledging through social media, and on camera and stuff. There's just certain people that that I know they're out there, and I know I'm aware of their existence and how fucked up they are, but I'm not playing into any of their games. So anybody that comes forward trying to stir up shit, well, I'm not gonna fall into it, and I'll either just delete your comment or block you. You know, one of the two. I might give you a couple tries. You know, if you try to stir up something, but you haven't heard this memo, and I delete your comment. Okay, well, that's fine. But if you keep picking at me and keep trying, well, I'll just outright block you. I'm not even gonna play that game. But I am allowing anybody who wants to follow me on Instagram just to read the content that I share, because I do like writing. Writing is something that I enjoy, and Instagram is a platform I'm not saying I like it, but it's a place I can go to write and share things that are in my mind that I want to share with people if it helps them. So that's what that's about. And then yeah, that's pretty much, we're almost done with this video. I'm sorry for taking so long, but again, there's always a lot of stuff to talk about. And I guess final thing is, you know, even though I have received some money from this individual named Alex and my mom, I still do need help. My bicycle, it's the gears and chain, and it's completely, like, my bicycle is almost busted, and I need to take it to the bike shop and get it tuned up and repaired and stuff. And I'm expecting something like that's going to cost me like $300 or $400. And most of my clothes, like, I only own 3 pair of jeans. One of my pair of jeans is like 11 or 12 years old, and not only do they not fit, it has a bunch of holes in them. This was my best pair of jeans, but now they're torn, and my other pair of jeans, both the knees are just entirely blown out. And so there's things that I need, but the money that I do have, that's all being allocated towards my food, fuel, you know, just my daily expenses and stuff. And I have other expenses that, you know, it's going to cost a little bit, and I'm still asking for people's help. You know, if you're somebody who considers yourself one of my friends or supporters, and, you know, you're wherever you're at in the country or somewhere around the world, like, and you have resources available, you have a little bit of extra resources that you can afford sending my way. Like, again, I have my PayPal account. It is active. I am able to receive your money, you know, as far as I'm aware. So if you want to pitch something my way, it would really help me out in so many ways right now. Not only do I have just these bigger expenses that I would like to, you know, I'd like to get my bike fixed. That way, you know, because I strictly use my bike to take Malaki on his runs. So if my bike gets fixed, that you're doing Malaki, my dog, you're doing my dog a solid. You're not just doing me a favor, you're doing my dog a favor, because by having a bike that is not on that brink of collapsing and breaking, like, I can actually go on some pretty fun bike rides. But right now I'm pretty limited on where I can go and the type of terrain I can ride on. But again, like, I can't, my situation, I can't just go get a part-time job. I have people out there who have already tried poisoning my dog, kidnapping my dog, murdering my dog. I've had people try to do me dirty many different times. And I'm not in a place right now where I can just turn around and go get a part-time job to pay for these things. And I'm in a position, remember, I'm stuck in this 60 square foot van, and it's been 170 days now. We're like on a day 170, is that right? Hold on. What did I say? Oh, today is day 160 days that I've been in the van, you know, just waiting for something to happen in regards to this really messed up situation that I'm in. And, like, it's not like I can just go get a job, because there's too much on my plate. There's too many things going on around me. where even if I went and got a job, I wouldn't be able to function. So, with all that said, I can always keep talking, but, this video is over 2 hours now, and so I'm just going to conclude it. The next video is going to be, it's going to be something different. It's going to be something that's, something that I haven't done before. I mean, it's going to be a completely different style. Where is it? I have, my dry erase board, that I've shown you in the past. I'm going to be using this dry erase board to paint a picture for you, essentially. I'm going to be telling you about what life is. Anybody whoever you are, if you're in a position where you're waking up to all this messed up stuff in the world and you're becoming aware of your own spirit, you're becoming aware of Heavenly Father and these high realms, and you're becoming aware of, the devil or Satan and the dark force. You're becoming aware of all this stuff, and you're not really sure how to even exist with all of this stuff going on. You don't know how to navigate through it and how to function. Okay. I can help you with that, and I can explain things to you to where you will be able to understand what you're dealing with and how to move forward in a positive way. Okay, and this next video, the things that I share with you might really stir up your brain, and at some point you're going to be wondering, maybe even from the beginning, you're going to be, Brandon, how do you know this? I have, through psychedelics, if you want a simple answer, through psychedelics. The psychedelics that I consumed, it was like my spirit left wherever, where I was when I consumed them. It was like my spirit left my body, and I went somewhere, and I had information shown to me, shared with me, and I was shown what I'm dealing with. And over a period of time of these things happening, over a period of time, I have acquired. I'm not saying I have all the answers. Nowhere close. I'm just saying I have acquired enough pieces to see a general concept of what we're dealing with, and in such a way where I can turn around and explain it to you, to where you can understand. You'll at least have a foundation. Where once you have the foundation, and then you think about these next days, weeks, months, years, however long we keep going, that foundation that you have, as long as you keep going and keep trying to figure things out for yourself, eventually you will also figure it out. Okay, that's my goal. Okay, and so the next video that you're going to watch is going to be, it's really going to be entirely, most of it's going to be with this board, and I'm going to be drawing on it, and then eventually wiping it clean, and then continue with the drawing. I'm going to just be painting things for you, and I'm going to try to use this as a visual, okay? So I need to take a break right now and get some water, and just kind of get my mind organized. But so this is the end of the video, and then have a good day, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are, whatever time it is, and then just make sure you're staying safe out there, right? Stay vigilant. And, just watch out for the bad guys, man, because they're out there and they're not happy with what I'm doing. They're not happy with it, but that's too bad for them.